Start recording. Let's take a look here. Alrighty, welcome folks to the first round of the second bracket of the round of 16. In the top, playing as blue, we have WAP, and playing on the bottom, we have Obe, otherwise known as Alex. Now, Alex is definitely a pretty interesting player, and I'm definitely interested to see exactly how Alex is going to play. He's very well known for doing what I call the Kansas City Shuffle, which is basically any type of which is basically like any type of ploy where you trick your opponent into thinking that you're going to be going for one plan, but in fact you're just going to do. But in fact it's a deceptive bait and switch that allows you to switch over to another plan, which is a lot more, and which is harder to counter. So then over here, it seems like as if right now they're just choosing their factions, or they're just going first. Probably just following the standard tournament protocols for going first, but but yeah. So this is how it's like. Yeah, I've definitely played against Alex a couple of times. The guy, otherwise known as Obe in this game, he's definitely a pretty tricky player. When he strategizes, just when you think he's about to strategize, he does an advance, and just when you think he's about to do an advance, he basically strategizes. So I'm going to assume that they're probably just going to roll the die to see who goes first, or who gets to pick their factions first. So it takes. So as it turns out, let's take a look. Let us take a look and see what goes on. So, let's see what happens. Alright, so it seems like as if maybe Obe is... Are they rolling the die? Well, let's take a look at that. So, okay, so it seems like as if maybe Alex over here, the guy in yellow, he's probably gonna pick Space Marines, I think. Or Orcs or Chaos or Eldar. One of those four base factions. Okay, so he is in fact picking... yeah, he is in fact picking Space Marines. I mean, Alex is generally very comfortable with Space Marines as a faction, but unlike a lot of other players, I will mention that Alex definitely does have a tendency to become more to get more aggressive as far as the Space Marines are concerned. He definitely doesn't. He's not exactly what I would consider a pure macro player. He's definitely he's definitely more of an order stacking, tactical aggro player. Like he does it so incredibly well that he could give a lot of macro players a run for their money. Okay, so it turns out that it looks like as if Obe is definitely going for Space Marines, and then WAP, on the other hand, is going for Eldar, which appears to be the case right now. Okay, so after choosing their factions, I think they're probably going to toss a die again, and it turns out that that WAP rolled a 3, so they probably agreed that that by going with a 3, WAP is just going to go first. So let's take a look and see what type of tiles they draw. Let's take a look at... Okay, no, it seems like as if Alex is going... I'm going first. Alrighty then. So let's take a look at their tiles and let me comment on the map setup. So, Okay, so, that's kind of strange. They just... Somehow, they reset the mod. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. It seems a little bit strange. Or maybe they're just using a different mod? Okay, well, it seems like as if maybe they're just using the non-experimental mod. So, okay, alrighty then. I guess we're just going to have to take a look and see what goes on. So, I think they're probably just going to go back to their original tile selection, their original faction selection. So let's take a look and see what's... going on. Oh, geez. Well, why do they have to reset it twice? That's pretty strange. Well, that definitely seems a little bit odd. Let's take a look here.
Probably, probably the mod only have 7 tiles.
Yeah, probably. Although I'm not exactly sure. Let's take a look. Okay, so then Obe is just going to resume with his original selection of Space Marines, but Oh, okay, wait. I think I see where the issue is. I think the thing is the Forbidden Stars mods have definitely had a bit of issues regarding the system tile draw. So maybe they're probably just finding some sort of way to just reset the mod to avoid this problem. So it seems like as if maybe the okay, so it looks like as if both players have already drawn their initial map setup, and it looks like as if yeah, already then. So let's take a look and see what they plan on doing next. It looks like as if maybe yeah, well, I mean, it's space. Now, one of the things that I've definitely noticed, Alex doing the the player in the space marine, the player who's playing the space marines doing is he has some pretty interesting map deployment options. Like sometimes he'll place place he's a little bit unorthodox with his map setup in the sense that sometimes whenever he doesn't necessarily care too much about control of the center, at least at least at the very beginning, although they could probably change given that that Wok is playing as Eldar. So let's take a look and see what Space Marines do. So turns out that yes, Alex as usual does a rather unorthodox setup. He looks like as if he's going to be placing his home system first, or maybe system 6A or 7A. So let's take a look and see what he's doing. So it turns out that maybe Alex is gonna go for a yeah, okay. So it definitely seems like as if Alex is definitely going for a home system first deployment, placing the Eldar objective on the one material planet, and let's take a look and see how he distributes his units. So he's going to place a Space Marine on the Eldar objective, a Scout on the 2 reinforcements, and a Scout on the 2 material. Okay, that's definitely pretty interesting. I mean, Obe is definitely known for making some pretty unorthodox decisions when he's deploying. So notice that when he's placing his map tile first, he's not placing any of his factories or anything of that sort. He's because usually the problem is if you go factory first, it's very easy to get forked. It's very easy to get forked from both sides, from either side, from at least 2 different angles. And then if you're basically forced to make too many forcing moves with your initial deployment, then a it's usually not a solid way of of opening. So it looks like as if Wop is responding in kind with with a diagonally with diagonal. I gotta come up with a good terminology for these terms. The diagonally opposite void tiles. So it looks like as if Wop is gonna be placing one of his ships to connect with the 2 material planets, and let's take a look and see what he plans on doing next. There's a strong likelihood that okay, so of course Wop places the Space Marine objective onto the Fort Pot planet, as is standard among a lot of other among a lot of good players, right? Like obviously if your opponent captures the objective, they won't be swinging material, right? And if they want to swing material, they won't necessarily be capturing the objective anytime soon. So let's take a look and see what Obig does. I'm always pretty interested in casting what he has to do. Okay, so it seems like as if Obe is probably just going to go for a for what I call a pincer conga deployment, where he basically flanks the Eldar by where he basically flanks the flanks the center with two tiles containing his units. Now, one of the I do remember watching a game between Obe and Farao a while ago, and he actually told me the that any type of pincer deployment where you basically have space marines either here or over here, you'll notice that 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 tends to be an optimal deployment for Space Marines. And I think one of the reasons why is because like Space Marines usually so yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the theory is behind the pincer deployment, but it definitely but hey, it seems like as if but Obe's obviously a much better player than I am, so I guess we're gonna have to take a look and see how it pans out. So now the one issue I just have with the pincer conga deployment has a lot to do with the fact that the second player could just claim control of the center of the map. And one of the biggest issue is when you control the both central tiles, it can be very tricky to obviously do any type of it can be very your opponent can basically place order tokens everywhere, right? And then he could probably so and usually the central tiles are a good staging area from which you can attack or launch attacks against other tiles, against other sectors. So let's take a look and see what what Obe does for his what Locke does for his second map tile deployment. I mean, I guess there are probably several viable openers. I mean, I guess maybe maybe Watt could probably take a system tile and then maybe place it along the top right corner with an Eldar ship and factory. So in that case, he has the ability to threaten the Eldar objective without the Space Marines being able to do something in kind. And by placing the objective token such that it's diagonally opposite, it makes it a little bit more. It makes it a little bit harder for Obe to to take it over. So let's take a look and see what Locke does. There is definitely a likelihood that he is going to go for a map tile deployment using the Eldar Home system and placing it across the Eldar objective. Or there is also another thing that I could also possibly see is I could definitely see Eldar maybe placing the home system, his home system with the voids facing towards the Space Marines, right? Because by doing that, then he could probably go for an early end, perhaps. Although it seems like as if Eldar wants to control center of the map. Well, that's definitely a pretty interesting deployment. I didn't really expect that just yet. Or maybe he's going for that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that as Eldar, you generally want to create as many void spaces as possible because you basically have the most OP, cheap-tastic fleet in the game until Chaos comes along and until Chaos gets Death and Despair, right? So we're going to have to take a look and see what he's doing. This is definitely an unusual map deployment. I probably wouldn't really recommend making too many ground areas because the thing is the Space Marines in turn could probably just respond with some double planets. So it seems like as if maybe Eldar is probably considering this system tile instead of his home system. Although, to be perfectly fair, as Eldar, I definitely do see the possibility of maybe just placing the... Okay, now this is definitely an interesting map deployment. I personally would not have done this type of map deployment, but I mean, there must be a method to his madness, right? I mean, it seems a little bit Yeah, this is definitely a pretty unusual one. Or maybe he's just considering the second part. Yeah, this is definitely an interesting decision for sure. I mean, I guess for me, whenever I do map building, I usually do things a little bit more conservatively, and I probably only take risks just for the memes or just because I just want to see what would happen if I do something a little bit more risky. But it seems like as if maybe WAP is okay. Now, this is definitely a somewhat interesting deployment. Like maybe what WAP is trying to do is he's probably trying to maybe capture his objective on turn 1 or turn 2 from this map deployment. Let's take a look and see what he plans on doing. This is definitely there's definitely a lot of ways that he could swing it, right? So okay, so it seems like as if he's actually going to be placing his home system in the center of the map, which is definitely... Yeah, this is definitely an interesting move. I mean, I usually don't really like having factories in the center of the map because it's easy to get them covered by... And you can be attacked from multiple angles, and being attacked from multiple angles just usually doesn't pan out very well for the person with the factory in the middle. Now, sometimes I will, in fact, actually get a factory in the middle, maybe sometime in the mid game, especially if I've already established regional hegemony with my original, with the systems adjacent to my factory. But usually, as a starter move, I usually don't really like doing this. So, okay, so it seems like as if WAP is just going to deploy using by placing his factory on his home world and then threatening the Space Marine factory over here. I actually think this is a pretty decent move, especially considering how Eldar usually obviously have the cheapest ships in the have the most cheap-tastic ships in the game in the very beginning, right? So by doing this, and he's able to threaten the Space Marines factory system while being able to threaten his own. No, wait. Why are you doing that? That makes no sense. That makes no sense, man. Like, I mean, okay, well, I think I see what they're doing. They're probably just reorienting the maps, so it just makes it a little bit easier to cast, I'm assuming, but, oh, whatever. Either way is fine with me. So, yeah, alright. So it seems like as if, Eldar is... Yeah, so it seems like as if Eldar is probably just going to go for a factory threat for a factory threat setup. So let's take a look and see what happens. This is definitely an interesting deployment. I mean, the pincer deployment definitely seems justified in many circumstances, but against Eldar, I'm a little bit skeptical if this might necessarily work. But let's take a look and see what Obey does in response. There's a very strong possibility that he could just place his other system in... It's interesting. He's placing it adjacent. No, he's placing... Okay, so he's basically placing his scout in the complete opposite, in a remote corner of the map. So, in that case, which I think is actually a pretty sensible decision, right? I mean, the thing is, in order for the Eldar to reach the system, they'll need at least 2 advanced orders in order for them to even reach the scout. Although, again, I'm a little bit skeptical of maybe having the 2 void spaces, of separating the oil rig with the 2 void spaces here. I think that maybe the opposite side, as shown over here, would probably be a little bit better, because it just doesn't, because at the very least, you might be able to do that. Or maybe or maybe just keeping them close together, or by having more land areas is probably the better idea. Okay, well, yeah, I think that actually this is probably the optimal deployment, right? Because if you're able to do this, then you're then you have plenty of ground connections, which is something that Space Marines want, right? Like Space Marines, the 2 factions that generally favor land, that generally favor as many land connections as possible, like as many continents, as I'd like to analogize, are definitely Space Marines and Orcs, especially considering how Space Marines and Orcs tend to be the least maneuverable factions, or at least in the case of Orcs, their ships are generally pretty their ships are pretty weak compared to the rest of the players, right? So all the map tiles have already been locked in, and it is Wap's turn to place the warp storm first. So then, looks like as if Wap is just placing the warp storm, separating the Space Marines from the center of the map. And Space Marines are just going to be placing the Warp Storm and just boxing himself into the bottom right corner. Okay, so then Alex has placed a deploy token first, which is a perfectly sensible move considering how it's just impossible to advance into his territory first. So maybe this, I can definitely see the merits in the setup for sure. I mean, I guess the thing is, if you're able to box yourself in with a set of warp storms, then you should be relatively safe from first turn. I guess one of the things that I've also read previously is while being first can definitely suck during map setup, being first on the first turn generally sucks on the first round generally sucks the least because because you usually have your warp storms to protect you, right? Okay, so it seems like as if what Obe is going to do is that Obe is probably going to use an advance order to perhaps develop some of his pieces and then just gain more control over the center. Then Alex in turn responds with a dominate. Yeah, like this is a very common order token stacking pattern, dominate and deploy. It just allows you to activate your faction ability while gaining additional units while getting a good economic base. Okay, so it seems like as if Eldar is just opening up with a deploy, and it seems like as if maybe both players are just going for a standard macro-based opener right here. I mean, I definitely have a sneaking suspicion that Eldar is probably going to use a dominate order and then maybe jump his Wraithguard into maybe the central system over here, or maybe just develop it elsewhere. Okay, so it looks like as if Obe is definitely considering on doing definitely thinking about his next move, and he's going to do another dominate. Okay, I think I can totally see why Obe does the pincer deployment, right? Because the thing is, if you're able to do a pincer deployment, then maybe you could probably then by using a double dominate, it is possible for you to develop two parts of the map as opposed to just simply going for a pure macro game, right? So, okay, I think I'm starting to get some idea as to why Obe does the pincer conga deployment as the first player as Space Marines. It's still definitely a little bit obtuse for me, but it seems like as if Obe right now, he's not really going for a standard aggro opener. He's definitely it seems like as if both players are definitely going for a more macro oriented build. So that's probably what they intend on doing. So let's take a look and see what Wap does. Yeah, okay. Well, there's definitely a possibility that he could do a strategize, and by doing a strategize, he's able to could get some order upgrades. But let's take a look and see what's going on. Alrighty then. So, with a dominate order, okay, yeah. So it seems like as if both players are probably just going to go for a standard macro opener. Nothing super remarkable at this point. They're just playing a little bit they're just going to be playing standardly and not do anything too exotic or crazy. So let's take a look and see what Obe does. I mean, I guess maybe a strategize, especially the top left corner, is something that could work out. But let's take a look and see what happens. Alrighty then. Yeah, I mean, I guess he could go for a strategize, right? I mean, going for a strategize is usually not a bad first turn move because a lot of event cards can give you plenty of good economic advantages as a result of that, right? So let's take a look and see what he's doing. Okay, so it seems like as if both players are just going to go for standard macro round one opener by just improving their economic engine, improving their combat deck efficiency, and then maybe just using enough, and then just using some dominate orders just to collect additional resources. So let's take a look. Yeah, let's take a look and see what Wok does. I mean, I definitely think that maybe doing the strategize could definitely is obviously a safe move, right? I mean, he definitely has the first player advantage in this case. Now, one of the things I could definitely anticipate Wop doing is maybe doing an advance order to basically is to maybe do an advance smother onto the bottom left corner over here, taking over the two material planet. And taking over the two material planet, right? Like you could probably use a dominate order in order to move a wraith guard onto this place. Oh, it looks like as if Obi's probably going to consider doing something else. I mean, I guess if he wants to place a strategize, I would probably consider placing the strategize over here. Although, yeah, well, it definitely seems like as if Eldar definitely has a couple of openers that Eldar could be doing. He could definitely be he could make some ships and then maybe just conquer the oil rig in the top left corner over here, causing a 6 material income swing. I mean, given that this is a given that the map setup doesn't look particularly aggro, this is definitely one move that I could see Eldar doing, right? And then if Eldar is able to do that, then Eldar would have an income of 3, 5, 6. It would Eldar would have an income of 9 in this regard, although. And considering how Obe is first, there's not really much that Obe can really do to stop Eldar from taking over the oil rig. So we'll definitely have to take a look and see what he does. Now, there is a possibility that Obe puts the strategize token on top of this on center top in order to do that. So, okay, so it seems like his Obe is probably going to do a strategize over there, but again, I think this is probably a somewhat risky move. I do think that when it comes to WOP, I do think that in this case, his optimal move is to probably do a double advance into the 3 material planet here, right? Because by doing an advance mother on top left, he's able to do 2 advance or he can make 2 advance orders, moving one of his Hellbore frigates into developing at least one of his Hellbore frigates into top center and then moving top center into the 3 material planet to contest that first. And I actually think this is a good move on that. This would in fact be the best possible move for Eldar in this case, because by doing so, you would deny the Space Marine players. You would create a 6 income swing on turn 1, which can be absolutely massive for sure, while denying the strategize order. But let's take a look and see what Bob does in response. I mean, if it was up to me, I would definitely do that for sure. I would definitely take advantage of that situation and then just move towards, and then just conquer this, and then just swing the oil rig over here. So let's see what he does. I mean, I guess another viable option that I actually think this is probably one of the better moves right here, right? Because the thing is, like, once you establish the 3 material, once you establish a presence here, you could definitely, at the very least, you would be able to generate a lot of income this turn while cutting Space Marine income down to 6, while cutting the Space Marine's income down to 5. So it seems like as if Wop's probably deciding upon that. So it does look like as if he is indeed going to go for a double advance or for a double advance into top left. So I definitely think that is in fact the optimal decision right there. All right, so then now it's Obei's turn to go first, and then he's going to reveal. He is going to reveal a Dominating Order, getting a cash token and a Forge token, and of course he's going to upgrade that Scout into a Space Marine. So let's take a look and see what happens. So he's going to get a Space Marine, and then now Wop in turn will reveal one of those order tokens. Well, I mean, I think he's probably just going to reveal the top right corner. He's probably not. I doubt that Wop is going to do anything premature and just start advancing right away. It just, I think that just revealing the order token over here in the top right corner is the one that obviously makes the most sense. So he's going to get perhaps maybe like a. Who knows? He could probably get double cash, or maybe a cash and a forge. It seems like as if double cash would probably make a little bit more sense, especially considering how the additional 2 material from the double cash could be used to make more Hellbore frigates, right? So it seems like as if let's see what he's doing. Okay, so he's probably going to consider moving his Wraithguard, and I'm going to assume that he's going to move it into top center over here, just so he can probably conquer the 3 material system over there, right? Okay, so it seems like as if that's what he's doing, and then he's going to be pulling 2 cash tokens. Yeah. I think you actually get your. Yeah, that's right. You always resolve the Dominating Order after pulling any asset tokens. So let's take a look and see what he does next. He's probably going to get another Forge token or some other. Yeah, he's going to get double cash, which I think makes the most sense. So yeah, so far both players seem to be using a relatively standard macro opener, although that seems like as if Wop has definitely taken advantage of being second player by doing a double advance into Obei's territory over there. So then Obei in turn responds with a Dominate and gets 2 reinforcement tokens. And let's take a look and see what he upgrades next. Could probably turn a Scout into a Space Marine. That's usually something that I prefer to do early on, especially when I don't really have any Land Raiders. So, okay, no, so it seems like as if he's not going to resolve his Dominate ability, for the Emperor. So now it seems like as if Obei is probably just going to use a deploy order and then maybe build some Hellbore frigates along with some aspect warriors in order to maybe consolidate and to develop additional pieces. So he's going to get 2 Hellbores and two Hellbores and aspect warrior, and then he's going to decide whether or not he's getting anything else. Well, he doesn't really have any strategized tokens on the board, so he could spend his money very liberally this round without having to run into super tight monetary issues, right? So then he's getting. Okay, so it seems like as if he's definitely going to consider getting a city. So far that requires 2 cash tokens and 2 material, and then he is in fact capable of getting a city for the other 3 material, thereby reducing his total material at the end of the turn down to 7. But it seems like as if Wop, he's just going to go for. He's just going to develop like a crazy crap ton of Hellbore frigates, which is actually kind of understandable. Okay, so he's definitely down. So he's down to 2 material, and he doesn't look like as if Wop is interested in getting any structures. So then Space Marines respond by choosing deploy action, and let's take a look and see what he's going to get. I'm going to assume that he might be getting a couple of ships because, well, this doesn't really look like as if it bodes very well for Space Marine. So he's going to get Space Marine and 2 strike cruisers. 2 strike cruisers. 2 strike cruisers. Let's take a look and see where he places them. So I'm going to assume that Obe is definitely going to concentrate his cruisers into the strike cruisers into the top left void area while placing the Space Marine into the factory over here. Okay, well, this well, this is definitely a pretty interesting scenario. I definitely do think that maybe I definitely do question Alex's initial deployment, especially in bottom right, especially by doing the pincer deployment, because by having a factory, because the problem is when you have an Eldar factory threatening a non-Eldar factory on the very first turn, there's just not really it's kind of tricky. There's not really too much you can do to. It creates a situation where you have to deal with the Eldar, where the Eldar is able to threaten your own factory system without you being able to adequately do so in return. So let's take a look and see what Eldar does. I'm going to assume that well, I mean, I think the thing is, if WoP definitely wants to swing the oil rig, he would definitely have to advance at least 1 Hellbore frigate into the system, right? Because otherwise, there's no possible way that he could possibly conquer the oil rig without it. So let's take a look and see what he plans on doing. I mean, he doesn't really have too many ways in which he could resolve the order. I mean, he could, or alternatively, he could develop the Hellbore frigate and then maybe the Hellbore frigate from bottom center and then just move it into one of the void areas. Although the problem with doing that is that you're basically not threatening. You're basically giving up any type of threats that this area could possibly. You're basically giving up the ability to threaten bottom left with the 2 material planets, right? So, but let's take a look and see what WoP does. I definitely don't think. It seems like as if maybe. Yeah, it seems like as if what I would personally do is I would probably just move 1 Hellbore frigate. You probably don't really need to move too many Hellbore frigates in order to go over here to conquer this place. So yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. I'm not exactly sure what other viable options there would be. So okay, so it seems like as if maybe WoP is in fact considering moving the Hellbore frigate over there, over from bottom right instead, and then he's going to be moving an aspect warrior. Well, that's pretty interesting. So maybe he's probably. I mean, I guess if it was up to me, I'd probably just move it to the planet, to the 1 material planet. Okay, so it seems like as if I was slightly incorrect. I mean, it seems like as if maybe developing pieces from bottom center and then just moving them up to top center to top center is also a viable term. But of course, obviously, Obe's final order token has already been revealed. So now has been smothered. So Eldar is definitely going to consider moving and conquering the 3 material planet, and he's probably just going to bring 2 units just for insurance, right? So now the first battle of the game begins with Eldar rolling 4 dice and Space Marines rolling 1 die. Let's take a look and see what the initial conditions are. Hold on. Oh, okay, well, it seems like as if WoP has, in fact, corrected his mistake. Okay, so it's 2 guns against 1 shield. So obviously Space Marines, if they don't play 1 shield, they're not gonna survive. Okay, so it seems like as if maybe what Alex is planning on doing is he's probably just planning on just surviving the battle, but Eldar, on the other hand, well, I mean, he could go for a hit and run. I mean, hit and run would in fact be, if you play a hit and run and gain 3 bolt guns, you would be able to cancel. You would in fact be able to cancel Blessed Power Armor. I mean, Obe could in fact play an ambush, but the thing is, the Eldar have a morale die to spend, so it's not like as if it's gonna do too much. Okay, so he's going to play Blessed Power. So Eldar is playing Striking Scorpions, getting 1 die, and then Space Marines have to lose the die of his choice, and then Space Marines gain Blessed Power Armor, so nobody deals any damage to each other this turn. So on the second round of combat, Obe plays a Recon, which allows him to shift between 2 strategies, to gain offense or defense tokens based upon what Eldar does. So then Eldar plays a Howling Banshees in return, gaining 1 die, and he's probably, I'm not exactly sure if that's the best idea. You could probably keep it for the ambush, but, well, he's going to get a reconnaissance. Well, Obe just responds with recon in response, so then he's just getting 4 guns against. So he's going to get 4 defense, and then 4 guns against 4 defense. That's just not going to cut it. So let's take a look and see what he does next. So then, Obe plays Faith in the Emperor, so there's definite. So he could do that, and then Eldar plays a hit and run. That oh man, if only he hadn't spent the morale die last turn, he probably could have just retreated his Eldar Aspect Warrior back into the 1 material planet, thereby gaining him an additional material. But oh well. But I think all in all, this is still a reasonably good opener, right? I mean, you're gaining more resources than Space Marines on turn 1. So Locke will definitely end up with 11 material, and then Alex over here will get 5 material in return. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if this is necessarily, if doing the Pincer Conga deployment over here was really in Alex's best interest. I mean, usually against Eldar, I would I mean, you could probably do like a standard Conga opening by placing your two systems side by side. Although the problem is Eldar also have a pretty big macro advantage, so it's a little bit. So again, like I've heard that playing against Eldar first turn can definitely be pretty annoying. I've actually heard from Alex that in high level matches, if Eldar goes second, it's very difficult to beat them if they're going second. But let's take a look and see what happens. Okay, so Obe is just going to move the Warp Storm, separating the 2 factory planets to the top left, or maybe he's probably just, or maybe he's just planning on, or maybe he's just going to move the vertical warp storm along the border, down here. All right, so let's take a look and see what Eldar gets. So then Eldar has Outcasts returned, but none of them are. Oh, okay, but he does in fact get Exterminatus as a scheme because he did place the Strategize order on top of that. So then, okay, so Outcast Return doesn't really do too much for him. It does allow him to move the Warp Storm either top or bottom, but there's not really much he could really. Yeah, I mean, I guess if it was up to me, I would probably take Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, I guess I would probably move it up here or down there. I mean, I guess either choice might not really matter too much for the long in the long term. So yeah, I guess moving it down there is perfectly okay. And in fact, if anything at all, I do think that maybe moving it down here is slightly better than moving it up here because at the very least it could potentially block Space Marines from further developing into the center of the board. Okay, so then Wap is up by 6 material, and then Obe only has 5 material to spend. Well, this is definitely a bit of a predicament for Space Marines. I think that Wap definitely did a very solid macro deployment. Maybe what if it was up to me, I think that the first thing that I would consider doing is maybe just, well, first of all, spamming more ships, and then once I start spamming more ships, I would probably just start getting rid of Space Marine's board presence one by one, right? Like, usually, if you have a big economic advantage, one of the ways you could just simply win the game without capturing objectives is just by either seizing more material and seizing more planets, or you could also maybe just, or a combination of seizing planets and removing units on the board. Alright, so Eldar is going to be placing an advanced order token, which is... well, I'm not exactly sure why he would do that. I mean, maybe he's probably planning on just pulling back his units. Well, maybe what he's planning... Okay, I think I see what Eldar is probably trying to do. He's probably just going to use and place an advanced order token last, so in that case, Eldar could just could do sort of like a hit and run advance order token, hit and run advance, right? So if you place an advance order token into the from the in your staging area as your final order token, then you could probably do like a hit and run maneuver where you basically advance first and then you just pull back and just like push in and then just push in and pull out. So let's take a look and see what Obe does. I wonder if Obe is suspecting an advance order is suspecting that that's what Eldar will do. So, that's pretty strange. Doesn't really have a strategize order type. I think he should have the strategize order type. So, should probably just reset his command tokens for him. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Let's take a look and see if Alex knows what Eldar is up to. He could very well wonder if he's able to suspect that at all. So let's take a look and see what Eldar is planning on doing. Is he... No, sorry. Let's take a look and see what Space Marine is planning on doing. Well, I mean, at the very least, Space Marines is going second this turn, so he does have the option of further reinforcing his factory, right? But again, this is one of the reasons why sometimes I'm a little bit skeptical of just of having your factory threatened from the onset, because the problem is whenever you choose a deploy order, especially when you have a limited budget especially when you have a relatively limited budget, there's not really it can be pretty tricky to allocate your resources, right? Because the problem is if you place more units over here, then Eldar could very well just maneuver and attack your ship and just kill off your ships, right? And then possibly develop and then maybe move a Hellbore frigate into the second tile over here. And the problem is, if Eldar is able to conquer the void area and the void area over here and block off both areas, then Space Marines are pretty much out of luck until they get their recruitment rolls order card, which allows them to use bastions as factories with one fewer pop production. Okay, so Space Marines are going to strategize in the bottom left corner, and then WAP. Let's take a look and see what WAP does. I mean, I definitely have a sneaking suspicion that since Eldar has placed their advanced token on the top right corner first, they're probably just going to do like a hit and run like a hit and run order token maneuver. But let's take a look and see what he's planning on doing. I mean, there's a lot of ways that Eldar could possibly win this. Another thing that you could possibly consider doing, and maybe, yeah, and is perhaps just perhaps just placing more dominant orders in order to get more units. But I think that if I was Eldar at this point, I would definitely consider maybe just strategizing, or you could potentially go for a double strategize and then get two level 2 upgrades, although two level 0 upgrades. Although, who knows? Like, maybe at this point, I would probably. I guess if I had to close out the game economically, one of the things that I personally like to do is I just like developing my cities, and then once when I get my cities, I'm able to produce more advanced units. So let's take a look and see what he's planning on doing. So it seems like as if Eldar is planning on using a strategized order token, which is definitely a sensible option, no doubt. There's a strong possibility that he's either going to get Wraithguard's Advance or Fire Red Dragon's Vengeance, because there's let's see what else he's doing. Okay, so it seems like as if... Wait, hold on. Can you take back moves in this game? This seems a little bit... this seems a... Oh, okay, no, he's not taking back moves. He's just placing his order token. So Obey is planning on doing a deployment last, although I'm not exactly sure if this is... Yeah, honestly, this doesn't seem to bode very well for Obey. I mean, I guess he could probably... There is a strong possibility that he could in fact perform a counter move by placing and by blocking the Eldar order token on top and then forcing him to advance prematurely. But even if he forces a premature advance, still, having 3 Hellbore frigates versus 3 strike cruisers, that's still a matchup that I think would still favor Eldar nonetheless. So, let's take a look. Okay, so then Obey is in fact going to smother Eldar first, so I did suspect that would in fact happen. Okay, so then Eldar is going to be placing deploy order, and then Space Marines will be placing another deploy order, so let's take a look and see what he does. I'm going to... Oh, okay, so it seems like as if WAP has definitely just finished doing that. So he's not going to go he's not going to go for a hit and run order token maneuver. So let's take a look and see what Obey does. He gets a... No, what WAP does. So he's going to get a strategize, and then I'm going to suspect that he's going to get either Wraithguard's Advance or Fire Dragon's Vengeance. I mean, I usually would not get Wraithguard support or Swooping Hawks against Space Marines. I would probably consider this one against... I would probably consider Wraithguard support against maybe Orcs, but against Space Marines, yeah, it's either Fire Dragon's Vengeance or Wraithguard Advance. I'm not exactly sure if Wraithguard support would really do very much in this regard, especially considering how Command of the Autarch already allows you to rally units. So, okay, so it seems like as if he's going to get Fire Dragon's Vengeance, which is something that I would suspect, and then he's going to replace Howling Banshees. And then on top of that, he's going to get his level 1 combat up. The level 0 bombardment bombardment upgrade for a total of 3 spending a total of 3 material in the process. Okay, so let's take a look and see what Space Marines plan on doing. I mean, he could probably build up, but again, I'm honestly, I wonder if the strategized order token was a bit of a misplay. I mean, I guess maybe I probably would have used Advance instead. I think that Advance actually would have been the better threat. I think that, this is actually a little bit... Yeah, it seems like as if this is probably just a minor throw on WAP's side, because the problem is he's not using Advance. He's just using a Strategize. But Strategize doesn't necessarily do very much for him. I just think that an Advanced order token beneath would have been strictly better compared to compared to strategize, since he obviously has no units in that area. So he's going to get rid of Fury the Ultramar in favor of Hold the Line, which is a very common strategizing move. And now Wop in turn. Well, he can only. Well, the thing is, the order tokens are more or less just concentrated over there. So he's going to use deploy order, and then by using deploy, he's probably going to get more ships, I'm assuming. Well, I mean, obviously, well, again, I mean, he's already resolved his strategize order token, so from this point on, he can just build as many structures as he wants in order to, and just develop his position even further. So he's going to spend it on a city, a Hellbore frigate, and a city, a Hellbore, and 2 aspects, for a total of 3, 5, 7, 9 for an exact 9 materials. So he's going to develop a city over there, and then Wop is going to be placing a frigate in the void space connecting the factories, which I think is definitely a sensible option. And then he's probably just going to place... I guess you could probably spread them out. I guess spreading out your aspect warriors is probably not a horrible idea. Okay. So let's take a look and see what he's doing. Okay, that's an interesting move. I mean, if it was up to me, I would probably just reinforce the void area between the 2 factories, because by doing that, then you would just get a little bit more reinforcement in that area. So in that case, if that part gets disrupted, because here's the problem, like, if the Space Marine strike cruisers try to attack this area over here, what ends up happening is you'd basically be disrupted from attacking the Space Marine's home system, right? But then again, like, Wop does have an advanced order token on the very bottom, so there's no real... I guess there's not really too much concern there. I mean, at this point, I'm not exactly sure if you should really be overthinking your deployment at this point. There's just there's no way that Space Marines would necessarily be able to bombard you, and you also have an advanced order token on the very bottom anyhow. So let's take a look and see what Obey does. He's probably just going to go for a deployment. He's probably just going to go for a triple. He's probably just going to do 3 moves at once and just develop his positioning before attacking. Okay, well, it seems like his Elder just wants to attack, so then he's just going to attack the 2 Hellbores over there, and and he could probably bring in some reinforcement tokens. That could definitely help him, although, yeah, not exactly sure this would pan out for him. So it seems like as if it's just basically 4 dice against 6. Okay, so he is in fact going to be bringing in both of his reinforcement tokens. Well, this is definitely an interesting situation. He could definitely try to go for Fire Dragon's Vengeance. Yeah, Fire Dragon's Vengeance seems okay, but I just don't think... But it seems a little bit suboptimal. I mean, I guess maybe a hit and run could... No, that actually wouldn't really work either, because the problem with a hit and run is that he just wouldn't be able to retreat. He doesn't have any morale dice with which he can retreat. So, seems like as if maybe Alex is just going to go for a strictly morale-based crush. But let's take a look and see what he does. Alright, so it looks like as if he's going to get Blessed Power Armor to gain 2 defense dice, and he's going to shift the dice into defense, and then he's going to get Fire Dragon's Vengeance, but unfortunately, Fire Dragon's Vengeance actually doesn't work on defense. Alright, so then for the second round, so that was basically like a do-nothing round. I think that if Space Marines just plays their hand correctly, they could just simply win via morale, and there wouldn't really be much that Elder could do about it. he could, yeah. Doesn't seem like. I mean, I guess maybe for Eldar, the best possible goal for Eldar is just to simply survive the battle, right? I mean, if you're gonna lose by morale, you might as well just not lose your units at the same time. So then Eldar is going to be playing Striking Scorpions, and it's going to be spending one. Huh. That's strange. I wonder what's happening. Okay, so he's just rolling. He's just gonna roll the die, and he's gains one bolt gun, and then he's going to gain one morale. Okay, so it seems like as if Space Marines are just gonna go for a morale based victory. Don't think there's too much that Eldar can really do to break this, right? I mean, the thing is, if he kills a reinforcement token, then whoop-de-doo, they're gonna disappear anyhow. So Eldar rolls one die, gains one bolt gun, and then gets 5 offense. So he's able to at least route one guy. Well, I guess it probably doesn't really matter at this point. It seems like as if no matter, based on the two hands that Eldar and Space Marines have. Okay, so he does in fact route a reinforcement token, but I think Space Marines are still going to win by morale anyhow. So let's take a look and see what Lab has. I guess maybe the best possible use is to probably just get hit and run, right? Because if you can find a way to maybe just route additional units, then you might be able to win with morale, but Space Marines already have a lot of morale via their dice and their cards, so I just don't really think it's gonna... Yeah, it's not really gonna do much, so... Yeah, not exactly. Yeah, I don't think you really have to worry about Space Marines routing any one of your Hellbores. It seems like as if at this point I would probably just chance it with hit and run, and then just see what happens. Okay, so he's just going to get for the Faith in the Emperor, and then he's going to gain one die. So then he's going to get hit and run, so then he gets 3 guns total, and then now they're going to retreat. Oh, right. I think the Hellbore frigates are just dead because the problem is when you retreat, you have to retreat into an area containing friendly units, and it seems like as if that's the only place where he can retreat. So unfortunately, the Hellbore frigates are in fact destroyed. Okay, this has definitely been an interesting minor upset, although Eldar in turn could just retaliate using an advance order. Yeah, I honestly felt like as if maybe the strategized order on top was probably a bad misplay. I really do think that if had the order been an advance order, the Eldar probably could have taken the fight to the Space Marines and then maybe could have won. And maybe could have won. And maybe could have won initially, or at least maybe threaten his, or at least maybe threaten the Space Marine factory. Okay, so then seems like as if what Alex is, yeah, okay, it seems like as if that's basically what Obe is trying to say. So let's take a look and see what he does next. So it seems like as if no, he can't use an Exterminatus. There's no way he can do that because the strike cruisers are because because you can't bombard right after you do a battle. So it seems like as if there's not really much that Space Marines can do. So let's take a look and see what Eldar can do. It seems like as if the Eldar can probably just retaliate, and then using a retaliate option, and then by using an advance, he could at least kill 2 strike cruisers in return, while generating a threat against the factory. So let's see what happens next. I mean, the only thing that Obe can do is it seems like as if maybe they're still disputing the rules and they're still discussing whether or not you're forced to retreat into a friendly area first. So, yeah, well, Hold on a second. Maybe I should probably come in. Maybe I should probably just state this. I should probably just state that, yeah, maybe I should just type in the chat and see what's going on. Let's take a look at OB's work. By oversupplying things. Okay, that's good. Alright, so Eldar is going to attack the Space Marines with a full set of 8 dice. Okay. Seems like as if he could just play Fire Dragon's Vengeance. I think that Fire Dragon's Vengeance is probably just the best possible opener, right? Because if you open up with Fire Dragon's Vengeance, then you're able to get 6 guns, and then the Space Marines in turn would have to play play a little bit more defensively. So there is a possibility that maybe Alex might respond with Hold the Line, but the problem is he already knows that he's going to get Fire Dragon's Vengeance. So let's take a look and see what he gets. So Wop does in fact get Fire Dragon's Vengeance, gets 2 additional shield icons, and then with Reconnaissance, well, he can only gain either 2 bulk guns. So he can only gain 2 bulk guns, and I do think that he's going to retreat one of his units by spending one morale die. So he's going to do that. He can't gain any defense, but he can gain some offense. But yeah, okay. So the Space Marine Strike Cruiser is down, and then now Obe can in fact get more units, but the problem is he's so low on material right now. There's not really it's a little bit. Yeah, come to think of it, I really do think that it would have been a lot better were the order underneath it were an advanced order token, not a strategized order. Okay, so he's gonna get a dominate order, and he's gonna upgrade his Space Marines into a tank, which is to be expected. And on top of that, oh, okay, well, he's probably just going to shuffle those 2. I mean, I'm not exactly sure if placing the Land Raider at the front is necessarily a good idea, because the problem is, right now, he doesn't really have any combat triggers. He doesn't really have any unit procs for the Land Raider, so it's just a big fat vanilla that doesn't really do much, and he's out of reinforcement tokens. Now, the problem is, the order token on top is a strategize, but the strategize doesn't do anything. It's just a strategize. Or maybe he's just using is he using Farseers? No, I don't think he's using Farseers. Okay, so he's just placing the other one on top. I honestly would have done double advance. I think double advance actually would have been a lot better, because by using a double advance, you could have also taken out the final strike cruiser, right? But okay, so then it seems like as if Obe is just going to rebuild his strike cruiser with a cash token. He's going to get 7 material, but it seems like as if what Wop is trying to do is he's just gonna. I'm going to assume that if Wop plays this correctly, which is pretty plausible given what he's doing, he's probably just. It seems like as if at this point this is more or less just a mop-up phase, right? I don't think there's too much that I'm not exactly sure if Alex could really come back from this position, right? Because the problem is if he has 9, because the problem is if Eldar is making 9 material a turn against Space Marines 5 income, you're gonna start bleeding out material, and then once you start bleeding out material, there's not much you could really do about it. So yeah, I think that all Wop has to do is just leverage his economic advantage against Space Marines, and then just just and then just play it safe. Yeah, it seems like as if at this point, WAP is more or less just mopping up Space Marines. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Alrighty then. So, alright, well, yeah, it seems like as if maybe I would definitely pick Exodite Colony, especially considering how Exodite Colony allows Space Marines, allows you to move this Warp Storm onto this border over here, right? And then once when you move onto, and then once when you move it into this border, it blocks Space Marines from developing into the center even further. So, and the other thing too is that by placing one free city over here, there's just not much that he can really do. And then over here, so yeah, it seems like his Exodite Colony is probably the better option, right? Because once we get Exodite Colony, you could probably even do a double strategize and then get two level 2 combat, combat upgrades, and then just start ramping up very quickly as a result of that. Okay, so it seems like as if Obey, I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. It seems like as if maybe. Okay, so maybe he's getting. Oh, that's interesting. So he's going to get Outcast returned instead, which is... That's definitely kind of fascinating. I'm not exactly sure if that's the better option. I mean, usually when you're economically... Okay, that's an interesting choice. I mean, if it was up to me personally, I probably would have picked Exodite Colony, because being able to get two cities, especially considering how the city costs only one material, you can just leverage your economic advantage into an even bigger advantage, right? I mean, when you're ahead, just get further ahead, but well, that's definitely an interesting choice. I'm not exactly sure what the justification is. I mean, I'm obviously very biased in favor of doing a macro-oriented strategy, but this definitely seems a little bit weird. I mean, keep in mind that Obe can go second this turn. So the problem is if he actually tries. So the problem is if he tries to So the problem is, Obe does get the advanced smother advantage, so he could in fact just take over this Halberd frigate. I'm actually a little bit surprised that WAP didn't take the second city. I mean, the second city is very well defended, and then using the second city, he could just leverage it even further into an even greater economic advantage, right? I mean, this seems kind of, yeah, this is a little bit strange, but hopefully WAP does know what he's doing. Hopefully it is possible for WAP to win at this point. This is quite strange, though. This is definitely a little bit strange. I really would have taken Exodite Colony, right? Because once we get Exodite Colony, you get these bad boys over here, or you can start getting these bad boys over here, and you can also just make Void Control even more painful by just getting the Void Stalkers. But, well, guess things go a little bit differently. Yeah. I'm honestly a little bit skeptical of this pincer deployment against Eldar. It seems like as if against Eldar, it's yeah, I'm not exactly sure why he would do that. I guess I'll definitely have to ask him afterwards. Okie dokie then. So, seems like as if what WAP's trying to do is he's probably just looking at his choice of combat cards. I mean, Corsair Raid is not a bad option at this point. Corsair Raid could definitely work pretty well because at the very least, it removes pieces off the map, right? I mean, one of the things that you should do, especially if you have a tempo advantage, is just get an even higher tempo advantage by just crushing more pieces on the map. So, Obe looks like as if he's definitely in a pretty tight spot. It's not really... I mean, he could definitely just capture his objective over here, but the problem is, by advancing to this objective over here, Eldar could just could just do a counter move and then just start pushing towards his factory position. So seems like as if Space Marines are probably just going to go for a dominate order, although yeah. I mean, another thing that I could also possibly foresee doing is maybe just killing off a scout over here just to reduce, just to kill the, just to reduce the Space Marines' economy even further. Although it seems like this is maybe the best option that Eldar has at this point is just to simply keep, is just to force Space Marines into, is just slowly crush them, one order token at a time. Yeah, looks like as if it's pretty call. Yeah, probably call it at this point. I mean, WoP definitely has the upgrade advantage, and he's also got the, and the other thing too is that, like, the funny thing is, the other thing I'd also like to point out is that because Obe doesn't really have any units adjacent to the central tile over here, ironically, the central tile is actually one of the safest places for Eldar to perform dominate orders or to strategize without being smothered. So, yeah. Let me see if I can find a way out for Space Marines. I mean, I guess if Space Marines can possibly find a way to maybe capture the city on the Eldar home planet, they could stand a chance of, he could stand a chance of coming back, although it's really, although it seems like as if at this point, if I was playing as Eldar, I would just out macro the I would just out macro the Space Marines and then just get rid of their pieces. Then once when I have enough of a sufficient foothold, then I could just then get claiming my then claiming either one of the objectives on the bottom half of the map will be a trivial will just become trivially easy to do, right? And the other thing you could also do is that, like, once when you, so yeah, I honestly don't really know what Obe can really do in order to come back. Like, he seems like as if most of the time he does appear to be a very macro-oriented player, but, sorry, a very aggro-oriented player, but it seems like as if, yeah, the 3 material swing early on has definitely helped out WoP a lot more than usual. So, I guess we're just going to have to take a look and see what Obe does in order to survive or maybe stall out as long as he can. Wonder what Obe is considering. Okay then, so it seems like as if let's see whose turn it is. Well, I guess if I was playing as Eldar, all I would really do is just maybe just kill off the Land Raider, kill off a Scout, and then maybe just play a standard macro econ crush game, right? I mean, there comes a point where if you're making that much bank and your opponent just isn't making enough bank, it's going to win at some point or another. And the other thing too is that even if Space Marines do in fact find a way to trade evenly against WoP, he still has additional material income, right? So with his additional material income, he could he could basically just rebuild his forces and then just still gain an additional advantage anyhow. So Space Marines are going to are going to consider dominate order, which is a plausible, which I guess isn't bad. I guess it's not a horrible idea, especially considering how the planet with the 2 acid tokens are located in the corner of the map. Yeah, honestly, it seems like at this point I'd rather just mop up the Space Marines. I really think that if it were up to me, I really would have considered getting an Exodite colony, but then again, I guess Yeah. I think getting the Exodite colony is probably not a bad idea because the thing is, you have to consider the fact that Obe is going first, right? So you can in fact defend your city reasonably well by using either countercharging and using the Hellbore frigates to drive out the strike cruisers, or the other thing you could also consider doing is you could also just smother it with a deploy, and then once when you have two cities, and then you have some Falcon battle tanks along with some upgrades, you're pretty much set. Yeah, this doesn't seem okay. So, Eldar responds with a strategize, which is interesting to say the least. Could consider he could be getting okay. I think I see what he's probably going to do. He's probably going to use a strategize and maybe get Farseers and then maybe get another strategize. Although I think that at this point, if you're this far ahead economically, you should just close out the game by just removing pieces and by removing ships on the map. You can't really conquer objectives, or nor can you hold them with a poor economic advantage with at such a huge economic disadvantage, right? So, this seems a little bit strange, especially considering far behind how far behind Space Marines are. Okay, well, I think I probably see some method to what Wop is considering. Maybe he just wants the additional helper frigate, so in that case, he can send in a full force against the strike cruisers, and then wipe them out before they get a chance to counterattack. Okay, so there's going to be a dominate on top, and then he's going to place an advance order on top, but Wop gets the final say. Let's see what he considers doing. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd just do a countercharge. I would just do a countercharge. You have two strategize orders, and then with the two strategize orders, you can get a much better combat up. You can get a combat upgrade, right? So then, if you're able to do an advance, I do think that maybe doing an advance and just using a countercharge against the strike cruisers, that's probably the best idea as Eldar, anyways. So another thing I could also foresee is maybe using an advance order and then just setting 3 aspect warriors into that. Okay, so it seems like as if he is in fact using a countercharge, which is something I would expect. Alright, so Space Marines have to must flip over the advance order token first, and I think that's actually a pretty solid move. Alrighty then, so he's going to bring in 2 strike cruisers. No, 3 strike cruisers? Oh, 3 strike cruisers against those 3 over here. It could probably... I can see this possibly panning out for sure. But, hold on, let me take a look. Okay, so there is in fact a Space Marine token over there. Yeah, I think Bob kind of made some slight throws earlier on. I mean, he definitely made an excellent move on the first turn by being able to take over 3 material planet over here, but I do think that this was definitely a bit more of a throw than I had initially thought. Okay, and Wop's hand probably doesn't seem all that helpful at this point. I mean, Space Marines can just keep loading it with morale galore, so he doesn't really seem like as if... Oh, man, yeah, this definitely seems like as if it's definitely much more of a throw than it was. Yeah, this looks mildly disappointing in many ways. I mean, yeah, this was definitely yet another minor upset. You see, sometimes you just gotta... honestly, I think that the biggest throw last turn, at least coming from Wop, was probably placing the Strategize order token. I'm not exactly sure why he placed the strategized order token on top. I think that using an advanced order token would have just been strictly better. Okay, so he's just going to use a hit and run, but I don't think the hit and run actually does much. He's just going to the bolt guns are just going to cancel out, and then Space Marines already have like a crap ton of shields as they normally do. So there's not really much that he could really do at this point. And the problem is Space Marines. Yeah, Space Marines could probably just win using Morale by playing Faith of the Emperor and hold the line. So I'm very surprised as to what he was. I'm actually a little bit surprised about that. That's strange how that works. But okay, so it seems like as if maybe Obe is in fact holding on after all. It's. But let's take a look and see if Eldar could possibly win. Well, it seems like as if maybe Eldar could win by using Ranger support, Ranger support and Command of the Autarch, right? Because if you use Ranger support and Command of the Autarch, you could match the Space Marines in terms of morale, and they could possibly die at the end of it. Okay, so yeah, it seems like as if maybe the only choice that Watt has, or the best possible choice, was to probably play more morale-oriented cards. Oh wait, no, sorry, he can't do that because the problem is with Command of the Autarch, he can't gain additional morale dice because he has no more slots for the morale dice. Okay, well, seems like as if in this case, yeah, maybe they're just conceding. Okay, well, alright, well, it's just moving one Hellbore frigate back. Yeah, this doesn't bode too well for Eldar. It seems like as if Space Marines are just gonna win using morale anyways, and then the remaining Hellbore frigates are forced to retreat. Yeah, I really question. I mean, even in light of these events, I still question this push. I still find this a little bit questionable. You know, like there's not really much that could have been done there. But let's take a look and see what he's planning on doing. I still think that even in light of these events, I do think that it's probably a lot better if Eldar had Eldar gotten a city instead. That probably would have helped a little bit more. Or again, like that's one of the reasons why I honestly think that using a countercharge in terms of advance probably would have been a little bit better. Now, one thing that I could conceivably see Eldar doing is maybe use a strategized order, upgrade his combat deck a little bit more, and then use an advanced order to take out the Land Raider plus the Scout. That's probably the one of the better possible options that he can do because there's not really much else that he wants to do. Yeah, I question the whole idea of using Farseers. I mean, normally order token stacking is definitely an important aspect of Forbidden Stars to consider, but I think it's just that given WoP's oil rig swing, the rig swing as I like to call this, earlier on, he should have just gone for an Econ Crush strategy. And then once you just Econ Crush far enough, your opponent just doesn't have much to work with, right? I mean, for those of you who don't know, I actually play. I've and the thing is, like, Econ Crushing is an incredibly viable strategy in pretty much any game, in pretty much any dynamic resource game, right? I mean, if you're able to, once when you have more stuff, like at some point or another, more stuff just beats less stuff. So there's that. Now, the other thing that Eldar could do is that Eldar could probably swing by going for this objective over here, Confluence of Destiny. But I honestly think that if he wants to play a straight up macro crush, I would definitely recommend just maybe scooching all of his Eldar. Okay. It seems like this is a good. Yeah, this is definitely a good move. I would definitely recommend doing this. So it seems like as if so WoP is definitely making the correct counter move over here by sending his Aspect Warriors against the Land Raider and the Scout. So it's going to be 6 dice against 4. Let's hope he doesn't get horrible RNG. Counting on the Eldar to win. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Obey. I know that there's an objective token, but we all know. But the thing is, like, if you can just cut off the supply of material, then there's just no way that Space Marines are gonna win, right? Like, sometimes it's better just to checkmate your opponent. Just go for a checkmate than to go for something else. Okay, so it definitely looks like okay, so let's just hope that Eldar draws cards he needs to draw. Oh, and he does in fact hit it. So he's got Fire Dragon's Vengeance, or he's also got Wraithguard Advance. But Wraithguard Advance actually doesn't really do too much for him. Well, actually, Wraithguard Advance does work, but I do think that Fire Dragon's Vengeance is probably the better play here, because you're denying additional shields, and you're also going to force a crap ton of routes, right? And then once you force enough routes, then you do in fact do that. Okay, so he's going to get Fire Dragon's Vengeance. He's going to pull two shields and 2 offense. So with 5 guns against 2 shields provided by Recon, it's going to get 3 damage. And then with the 3 damage, you could tank it on the Land Raider for sure. So it's going to tank it on the Land Raider. The 2 shields do that. Alright, so then... I mean, he could possibly reroute the Land Raider. Like, unroute the Land Raider. Sure. Could definitely happen. Yeah, I guess if it was up to me, maybe the one thing that I would consider doing is I could consider doing a hit and run next turn. Or it's very likely he's going to play Faith in the Emperor, but so I do think that maybe Wraithguard Advance is a good response. So he's going to gain 1 die, assuming he's probably just going to chance the 1 die, perhaps. I think anything that's not a morale die would probably be the more beneficial option. So he is in fact going to chance it, and he gains 1 morale die anyhow. Then he's going to convert up to 2. Now, he does have the option to convert up to 2 shields into some guns. Not exactly sure how necessary that is, but so far he's got 3/6 guns against 4 defense. So he's not going to swap any dice. So he's going to gain 1 die, and then he's going to... I'm going to assume he's probably going to rally the Land Raid. Why would he not rally the Land? And he's got 4, 5, 6. He's got 6 guns against 3 defense. So I think the Land Raider. Wait. He has to route something. So it's a Land Raider. And let's see what he plans on doing this turn. He could get a hit and run. I think a hit and run could actually work. But the problem is he's got a camp. And he's going to put in Faith of the Emperor. So he's going to get Wraithguard Advance. He's probably just going to chuck 1 more die. And in fact, it does become a gun. Let's see if he wants to swap any dice now. So he's got 2, 3, 4. Wait. Hold on a second. Can't convert morale into guns. Only defense. It's only... Okay, so the Space Marines roll 1 shield for Faith in the Emperor, and I'm going to assume that he's obviously gonna... He could just rally that, but the problem is, like, Emperor's Champion is just not gonna do much, so then he gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... against 5. Okay, well, either way, the scout is just going to die, and the Land Raider is just going to get flipped over. So I don't think Faith in the Emperor is actually going to do much at this point. So yeah, so let's do the combat computation. So then there are basically... Wait, how did he convert... Wait, that makes no sense, though. He can't... Whoa, wait a second. What just happened here? He got a morale. You can't convert. He can't convert. It's so strange. Yeah, he can't convert morale into guns. He can only get. Wait, what? Well, that's strange. Well, either way, I think I'm definitely gonna. I definitely do think that Eldar are in fact gonna win this. Right, so he can only have one. He's gonna convert only one into. No, you no. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Can't convert morale into guns. Card specifies. Card specifies only defense guns. Yeah, that can't be right. That can't be right. Okay, well, there we go. There we go. Ah, yes. Okay, so he's gonna get faith in the Emperor, but I think that even if he rallies, he's got Eldar already has way too many guns, and having 9 guns against 4 defense will just inflict 5 damage. So there's just no way he's gonna do this. And the thing is, like, this is at the start of an assess damage step, so if he, but it's at the start, not at the end. So he just can't possibly win this combat. Well, the thing is, Eldar is still dealing 5 damage, so one of them's gonna give either the Scout or the Land Raider. But I mean, I guess if they're forced to retreat, they would in fact have to. He would have to kill off one guy. So, yeah, so he would basically do 2 damage, and then he would just tank the rest on the Land Raider. Yeah, there's not really much that he could really do. So, yeah, the Land Raider does in fact have to retreat onto that system over here, and Wop does in fact gain. Yeah. Okay. Well, it seems like as if this is definitely right. Like, I mean, I definitely do think that maybe WAP should have done the Econ Crush maybe one turn earlier, but this is also a pretty solid move. I mean, now Eldar is going to be up by 11 material, is going to be generating 11, generating an income of 11 a turn, and by generating a material income of 11 a turn, Eldar should be able to just win the game via economics. So, should be the best possible option. Yeah, I guess they're probably just deliberating or just talking about what could have gone differently, but he's already conquered this planet, so there's not much that he could do. So there's really not too much that. Yeah, this is not a good. This is not a good situation. This is just not good for Space Marines at all. The problem is Space Marines have been denied a center for way too long with Eldar, and then they were basically forced to deal with threats at near at home. So then now Eldar has a big economic advantage, not to mention both factories as well. So yeah, it's at this point there's at this point WAP is just mopping up is just mopping up. So Alex is going to get a cash token and a forge token. So that's what he's going to get. And then he could convert the Space Marine into a Land Raider, but it's not going to do much for him. And then Eldar, on the other hand, are just going to reveal. Well, I mean, I guess that's probably really the only thing he can do. I mean, if Space Marines attack using their ships, it's not going to do too much in response. So then Eldar is going to reveal a Dominate Order. They're going to pick up a cash token. And I don't know. I mean, you're kind of high on material now. I mean, I would definitely just pick up the Forge token instead, because... Oh, and he's going to pick up a reinforcement? Okay, alright, well, I don't necessarily disagree with that. So, now Space Marines are going to retaliate with an Advance Order token. Just maybe shoot up some Eldar ships. Although at this point, even if Eldar does trade inefficiently, there's just no way that he's gonna do much, right? Even if Eldar does trade inefficiently, he could just rebuild. He could also just rebuild very rapidly. Whereas the problem with Space Marine is that every single unit that he loses from now on, it's just going to be much more of a painful loss than if Eldar had lost those units. So, okay, so it's 3 dice against 4. Let's see what Eldar could do. He could, in fact, get Ranger support. He could probably... okay, so he's going to get a reinforcement token, and he's going to put a reinforcement token into play. He's probably going to get Fire Dragon's Vengeance, but, I mean, doesn't really do much. Well, it could probably set him up for future turns, and then if Space Marines take the 2 defense from the recon, then he can avoid all possible damage this turn. So he's probably just going to take the 2 defense. Oh, or he's going to take 2. Oh, but if he takes 2 offense, he can't ping anything, so it's probably better just to take 2 defense. So they probably just agree that it's the 2 defense, and then they're just going to move on to the next one. Okay, so he's going to set up a sneaky ambush. Let's take a look at it and see if the ambush pans out. If the ambush pans out, then Eldar will in fact lose the reinforcement tokens and the Hellbore frigates, but doubt it's going to be a huge loss for Eldar at this point. I mean, at this point, it's just basically Eldar mopping up the Space Marines. If Eldar can find a way to conquer the 2 material planet over here, even by giving up 3 material planet, the Space Marines will just only have 1 material a turn to work with. So, he's got Hold the Line. And he's probably just going to play another Fire Dragon Vengeance. So, let's take a look and see what happens. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if playing Fire Dragon's Vengeance is probably the best idea. I think that maybe the better idea in this case is probably just go for defense morale racing. But then again, he does have 5... No, 5 offense isn't going to cut it. It's barely enough to make it past. I mean, if it was up to me, I would probably just play Ranger support, and then... Even if just for its icons, right? So... Yeah, doesn't look... Well, but then again, I mean, if Eldar does retreat, they do in fact retreat back here, so... It does in fact give Space Marines the ability to consolidate. It does in fact give Eldar the ability to consolidate. Okay, yeah, I'm not exactly sure if whacking the Space Marines using this many icons is actually gonna help. But let's take a look. So then Eldar has 5, 6, 7, 8 guns. Against Space Marines, potentially 7 defense, but with 7 defense, that's still enough to rout 1 strike cruiser. So, yeah, I guess... Whoa, wait, hold on a second. So then he's got 1, 2, 3 morale. No, wait. I think Eldar wins by morale. Because Space Marines have a total of 4 morale, but Eldar have 4 morale from the reinforcement token, right? So, if you got 4 morale, Defender wins all morale times. No, wait, hold on a second. He had 4. Oh, right. Whoops. Oh. Oh, okay, yeah. Eldar Hellbore frigates only have one morale die. Yeah, that's right. They do have one morale each. Okay, alrighty then. Okay, well, I guess either way, this looks like the beginning of the end for Space Marines. I mean, still, again, this is something that I find a little bit questionable. I mean, he should have taken Exodite Colony and maybe just, and in that case, he would have gotten a level 2 upgrade, but oh well, I guess maybe this isn't necessarily the worst possible outcome, right? I mean, he's going to get a lot of money, so you might as well upgrade your combat deck, right? So he's probably going to do that, and then he might consider, I don't know, I would probably consider getting rid of Ranger Support. Ranger Support just isn't the Ranger Support just seems a little bit mediocre, and there's not really much that you could do. It doesn't really. It gets outmatched by pretty much every other combat card later on, and then he's probably going to get another combat upgrade. So then he's going to get 3 material in total. Okay then. He's going to use a dominate. By using a dominate, gets 2 reinforcement tokens. Yeah, this ain't good. This doesn't look good for Eldar at all. It's basically just 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 11. So he's actually up to 13 material. 13 material. And Space Marines are up to 4. Yeah, that ain't good. That ain't good. He's not going to replace 1 free... Oh, okay, well, I mean, he can only get the scout. He no longer has any structures, right? So... Oh, looks like he's got Exodite Colony again. Or Path of the Warrior. But I mean, I think maybe Exodite Colony would actually make a little more sense. So he's going to get the Exodite Colony. He's probably going to place it friendly or uncontrolled role that does not contain a structure. Well, he could in fact actually get an Exodite Colony and then just place it over here. Perhaps. Yeah, things are just not looking good for Space Marines. I mean, spaceships can definitely be pretty powerful under the right circumstances, but you still need ground units in order to capture objectives, and there's just nothing I can see. Oh, that's strange. Wait. If you didn't purchase city, should have 13 material. That's strange. Because it's 3, 5, 6, 9, 11, right? So... yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. I think it should be 13. You should be having 13 material. That's not how it goes, right? I mean, if he does in fact purchase the Exodite Colony and places it on a city, I mean, he could probably just place the Exodite Colony over here, right? Or, oh, okay, alright. Okay, alright, well, things are definitely good now. So, Eldar is up to 2 cities against Space Marines with 0 cities. That's a little bit, It doesn't really look like as if there's... yeah, I honestly don't really see much that Obi could really do at this point. I mean, he could potentially put a bastion on the bottom right corner, and then maybe start holding that area a little bit more, but even then, it really is just a matter of time before Eldar crushes Space Marines completely, right? I mean, the other thing that they could do is... yeah, he's got 12 material. I don't think he can really do too much. So then Eldar is going to use a deploy order, which is perfectly reasonable. They're gonna I mean, I guess the other thing I would have also done, maybe with the Exodite colony, is I would actually place the Exodite colony maybe on the top left corner of the of of the system, because if you place it on the top left corner, then you're able to use Eldar's cheapo dominated ability to just warp them all the way to the top left, and then once you warp them all the way to the top left, you could in fact start making a push towards the second objective as well. And then when Space Marines are forced to defend both fronts, it's gonna be a little bit screwy for them, right? Okay, so Eldar is definitely just going to make a push towards his first objective over here, and even if he fails, I still think Eldar has a chance here. Now the one issue that I definitely do see here has a lot to do with the fact that the Aspect Warriors only have 1 hit point each. I guess in this case, a double bombardment could be warranted because even if you just kill off one model or one Marine, even if you just kill off one model, and this is definitely something within the capabilities of the Eldar, that can still cause a pretty big swing, right? So let's take a look. So the Eldar is going to place a dominant. Yeah, I think that with the Exodite colony, I probably would have placed it in the top left corner, because by placing it in the top left corner, it just gives me a better position, and then from that point on, I can just leverage the Exodite colony in order to push towards Space Marines. I mean, I guess if I was Space Marines, I probably would have done a conga line deployment with the second deployment maybe somewhere over here, as opposed to like a pincer deployment, because if you do this, then this planet, and then this space would have been part of the center, and by controlling the center of the map, Space Marines like controlling the center of the map. Let's just say that their limited mobility definitely is a bit of a liability, unless if they control some part of the center. Okay, so it seems like as if the Space Marines are going to use a deploy order to possibly reinforce that front, and to possibly reinforce the top, to maybe just build a bastion. Although, yeah, so maybe that's what Space Marines are planning on doing. Okay, so it seems like as if Walk is probably just going to use a second advance. Could it be a second advance? Let's take a look. Alright, so I guess in this case, I mean, there are multiple ways that Eldar could definitely win this game. They could definitely win the game either by capturing, by just simply removing and exchanging material on the map, or by going for their objectives. I mean, I think either way, the Eldar could just swarm the entire map and lock down the entire map via lockdown. So, well, let's see what Eldar does. Let's see now. So Obe has a well, that's pretty interesting. Not exactly sure what he's planning on doing. But, yeah. Well, I mean, alrighty then. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so it looks like maybe Womp is trying to use... Yeah, I guess maybe a double advance might not be a bad idea. Like, usually, one of the things that I would usually recommend doing, especially for newcomers, is if you're already ahead in terms of material, one of the best ways you can possibly close... One good way to close out the game is to constantly use double advances and pair them up with deploys and strategize, with maybe a deploy and a strategize, because when you do the double advance with a double advance and strategize and deploy, you're able to then leverage whatever you get out of strategizing, and you can basically get better combat cards, and then use a double, and then get even further ahead, right? So, okay, so it seems like as if the Space Marines, it's Watt's turn first, so he has to reveal top card. It's going to be a strategize. Let's see what he gets. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to get Corsair Raids. I think Corsair Raids is definitely a pretty solid option, although... Let's see what he's going to get. I mean, he could, in fact, get Fire Prism. He could get Spirit Seer's Guidance, but this seems a little bit redundant. This one over here is... Wave Serpent seems is a little bit... seems okay. Spirit Seer's Guidance actually could actually be reasonably okay, but not entirely sure. I think that maybe Fire Prism probably could be a better option, although Wave Serpent is definitely up there as well. So he gets Wave Serpent in place of Ranger Support. He's gonna get... He's probably just taking a look at Wave Serpent. He's just going to see what's going on. So, yeah, he's getting Wave Serpent, which is definitely a very powerful card indeed. So then that's basically 8 material, and he declines Corsair Raid. So then Space Marines will in fact strategize as well, picking up 2 material. Let's take a look and see what he's going to get. I mean, he can either get only... Yeah, a lot of the level 0 combat upgrades for Space Marines are a little... beyond Hold the Line, Space Marines just don't really have too many other good upgrades. I mean, you can get Veteran Scouts and maybe pair it up with something like Hold the Line, which allows you to gain additional attack, which can basically allow you to spam a lot of attack tokens, but that's probably, yeah, it doesn't really look like as if it's all that great. I mean, you could also try getting maybe Emperor's Glory with Veteran Scouts, but that's a late game combo, and I don't think that this looks like a very late game oriented game, right? So it seems like as if WoP is definitely doing a really good job at the economic lockdown strategy. I mean, I guess if I was playing as Space Marines, I would probably just deploy this system first, and then maybe just deploy the factory system second. But anyways, let's take a look and see what he gets. So he does, in fact, I usually wouldn't get rid of Faith in the Emperor. That usually seems to be one of the worst ones. I mean, maybe Blessed Power Armor could be something that he could get rid of. Recon is also another option. Let's take a look and see what he gets. He's probably gonna discard Recon, discard Ambush. I don't know, man. I don't know if you want to discard Ambush. I mean, you can just... I mean... Okay, so he just replaced Ambush with Vet Scouts, but I really question that decision. That's a little bit of a questionable decision here, so it seems like as if Oge is trying to reclaim his factory against the Eldar, so then he's gonna get 5 dice total. Yeah, you see, this is one of the reasons why I'm just a little bit skeptical of getting rid of all of your offensive cards, because if you lose all your offensive cards, then you're probably going to be a little bit too predictable, although, wow, that's a pretty interesting roll. So, there is a possibility that maybe he's going to send in both reinforcement tokens, or maybe only one reinforcement. Yeah, either way, it seems like as if it's just a matter of when... if Eldar is going to win, not necessarily when, but let's see how this pans out. So unfortunately, Wraithguard Advance doesn't really work on defense. I do think that, yeah, this is definitely a bit of a weird game. I mean, he hasn't drawn too many of his additional combat cards. He could, in fact, and yeah, this is a little bit questionable. I mean, earlier on, I probably would have gotten some Forge tokens to get some Wraithguard, right? Because if you have a Death Ball of Wraithguard and 2 Aspect Warriors, for example, that could be a very difficult opponent to overcome early on. So we're just gonna have to take a look. I mean, it's probably gonna. I'm going to assume that Space Marines are probably gonna go for a morale-based victory, but yeah, and unfortunately, Fire Dragon's Vengeance doesn't really work on the defense, so there's that. But he does have 3, 5, 7. I mean, Eldar does have 9 morale at this point. Space Marines have 3, 5, 7, 10 morale. So it is. I guess it is possible for Eldar to win if they can, but I don't know. I think that this die roll in the very beginning is a little unfortunate because with the 3 morale, even if Eldar do in fact have 3 morale, it's not gonna work too well. I don't think that the 3 morale is actually gonna do very much for the long term. So let's take a look and see what happens though. Yeah, alright, so Space Marines have already played Hold the Line, which grants them additional defense and some additional morale, and an additional morale die. Yeah, I don't think that you could probably morale race against Space Marines. You generally can't really do that unless if you have a lot of morale-based upgrades. If it was up to me, honestly at this point, ironically, I think Fire Prism actually would have been the better upgrade at this point because the second half, because the reason why Wave Serpent is good in the first place has a lot more to do with the second half of the ability. But I think in this specific instance, I really do think that Fire Prism would have been the much better option because then he could have converted the morale dice into offense and then maybe just blow up some Space Marines in the meanwhile. But he does have a second chance, I think, to get it. And at the very least, Locke is still ahead in city count, so he could still leverage his cities if he knows how to play it well. Yeah, honestly, I would probably not shy too far away from other options, but okay, so it's actually 4 guns against 6 shields, so no damage is in fact taken at all. Now, let's take a look and see what he does next. So it seems like as if he's got Fire Prism, and then Obe is playing Hold the Line. Let's take a look and see what he does next. So then over here, he's probably just going to play Blessed Power Armor, but yeah, I think that Space Marines are probably just going to win this battle. There's not really much that Eldar could really do in order to win it. I mean, I guess he could play Command of the Autarch and then maybe get Fire Dragon's Vengeance and then maybe play Wraithguard Advance to gain more morale dice. That could be one way of racing Space Marines for morale, but yeah, it doesn't really look like as if this is something that can be done. Let's take a look and see what's happening next. Oh, wow. Oh, and there's another advanced token on top. Okay, so this is actually pretty interesting. Maybe Alex is okay. This is definitely a little bit more. Maybe not all is lost for Alex after all. It seems like as if maybe he can in fact go for double factories and in fact get his first objective while causing an 8 material swing against the Eldar. Okay, this is okay. I think I definitely see the method to his madness now. I do think that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Obe wins this, he will in fact be able to take over both of these cities. But again, like this is one of the reasons why sometimes I'm a little bit skeptical. Okay. Well, I guess it seems like as if maybe there is some. I can definitely see what Alex is trying to do. He's just trying to capture this factory, and then once he takes over this factory, because he gets the second say in this one, he could definitely just conquer this factory, get his first objective token, and then go on from there. Okay, this is definitely one of the most interesting reverse sweeps that I've seen in a while. I guess maybe yeah, after casting this game, I think instead of necessarily being super duper fatalistic and thinking only in terms of economy. I think one of the other things you also have to consider about Space Marines is these guys are ridiculously tough to kill. So maybe so they're probably a lot more so maybe Space Marines don't really need nearly as much material in order to thrive compared to other factions, right? But let's take a look and see what happens. Unfortunately, don't think the second advanced order is actually going to do much. He could, in fact, at least try to bombard and kill some units, but he's gonna get some really lucky hits. And even if he does manage to roll easily, okay, I see now. So this is how the Space Marines are gonna fight back against the Eldar. He's going to do a reverse sweep, and unfortunately, the problem is I don't think that the Eldar can actually do a counter reverse sweep by getting that. Okay, so it's basically 6 bolt guns, so he has to in fact remove the Space Marine, but I don't think it really matters anyhow at this point. He could, because even if he removes the Space Marine, he can just do the reverse sweep and then he can go up to 7 materials. Okay, this is interesting. I honestly really felt like as if when Watt had the economic advantage, he should have just played more conservatively by just eliminating more and more units, right? But then now, unfortunately, yeah, it seems like as if, okay, so then, yeah, it seems a little bit unfortunate at this point. Okay, this is definitely one of the most interesting upsets, or one of the most interesting reverse sweeps I've seen in a while. So, so again, it seems like again, Space Marines have already performed an 8 material income swing at in one on turn 4. This is actually quite unbelievable. You know, like I honestly thought that WAP would just completely would just steamroll over Space Marines, but it turns out that this has definitely been quite the interesting upset so far. I hadn't really anticipated that. So then WAP has to place the deployed marker on top, not deploy marker on top. Space Marines get to leverage their newfound their newfound ability, their newly recaptured factory in order to do so. So it seems like as if they're just gonna get. So he's going to get a Space Marine. Let's take a look at what he's going to get next. He might consider getting. He could probably get some scouts, although, or maybe he could get. Yeah, it seems like as if maybe he's going to get a scout. And maybe and perhaps a Space Marine, perhaps, although, and he's gonna get a city now. That is an interesting. That's actually kind of interesting, you know. I actually never anticipated this reverse sweep. This reverse sweep was definitely a lot more unanticipated than I had originally thought. So maybe now Eldar is the one that's in trouble now. They could, I guess Eldar could probably, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what Eldar could really do to reestablish a new base of operations. I mean, he could probably choose a Dominate order over here just to jump the, oh no, just to jump the Wraithguard all the way back to his original home system and then maybe try to retake the factory from that point on. But this doesn't really, yeah, it seems like as if Alex has definitely done a good job at exploiting one of Obey's sorry WAP's weaknesses, and yeah, he's generated a 4 material income swing. So at this point, he's probably going to stabilize. Honestly, yeah, it seems like as if maybe yeah, WAP definitely threw the game, definitely made yet another throw. He really should have conquered the second. He really should have just gone for a full lockdown and then just prevented Eldar from any form of prevented the Space Marines from any form of reconquest or recapture. So Yeah, this is definitely panning out to be a lot more, a lot strange, an interesting, a much more of an, a much more interesting upset than I had anticipated. So Space Marines are actually up to 7 material now, and then Eldar are up to 3, 4. Now they've just achieved income parity. So there is still a chance for Eldar to maybe come back in the game by perhaps building some factories again and then seeing what they can do about it. But honestly, it's a little bit. It's a little bit. But yeah, I'm honestly a little bit skeptical as to whether or not Eldar could come back. Like if Eldar could have just maintained a very strong foothold, or maybe even get Wraithbone Singers instead, and just lock down this part of the planet, then maybe it could have been GG for Space Marines. But it turns out that Space Marines have definitely managed to create a completely unanticipated reverse sweep to take back the game. Or, I guess if you interpret it in the other way, WAP definitely threw in that regard. Okay, so it seems like as if maybe. Yeah, so I don't think Space Marines have had their. Okay, so it seems like as if for Work of the Righteous, he's probably going to get. He's just gonna move the Warp Storm down there. No, or up down there. Yeah, maybe I guess if I was Eldar, I really would have just gotten it further ahead and then just prevented my opponents from any possibility of gaining back their ground. That was definitely a little bit. Yeah, I did not anticipate that this would happen as a result of this, but I guess it did. So now we're just gonna have to take a look and see what happens now. Hmm. Okay. I can definitely see where the order token stacking has come from. I never anticipated that in the first place. Okay, so he is okay. So Alex is in fact getting 2 additional reinforcement tokens, which is which is something that I consider to be a relatively good. Which is something that I definitely consider to be a good option for sure. Now, the question is it possible for WAP to maintain his second advantage? I mean, he could probably try doing deploy and then using an advanced order. He could probably put a deploy order at the very bottom and then just doing an advanced order afterwards. That is something that could be done. He does in fact have outmaneuver, so maybe there is a possibility for WAP to to retake the Eldar homeland and then retake the Eldar home system and continue with a lockdown strategy. He could desperately try to push for these 3, but I'm just not exactly sure if that's the best idea. Okay, this game has definitely shaped up to be a lot more interesting than I thought it was. Okay, so then Obe is planning on using an advanced order token. Is planning on using an advance and maybe capturing the second objective. The So there's definitely that. So he could definitely do. I mean, I guess there are 2 avenues Obi could use in order to capture the final objective. He could in fact advance into the bottom right, and then maybe into the center, or he could also take this route as well. But let's take a look and see what goes on. There's a strong likelihood that he's probably going to advance to the bottom center via the bottom right because he already has some units and some pre-existing factory and some, not to mention a factory. So that's probably what he plans on doing. He definitely plans on. I'm definitely going to assume that he's gonna do that. Let's see if Watt is able to do something in return. Oh, well, this is definitely much more of an upset than I had previously anticipated. I mean, I guess if it was up to me, I would probably try to go for to reconquer the system in the top right corner in order to maybe go for an econ lockdown. But maybe that's not necessary. Alrighty then. I mean, you could probably do a deploy move. You could probably do a deploy move, and then maybe stack an advanced order token on top on top afterwards. That's definitely something that could be done, although not exactly sure if that's the best possible option. On the other hand, WAP could in fact deny Obe from getting the Eldar could definitely deny Space Marines from conquering the second objective simply by locking down this part of the board. Although still, he has although the thing is, Space Marines still have 3 ships, so it is possible for Space Marines, and not to mention 2 reinforcement tokens, so it is definitely possible for him to do that. Okay, that's interesting. So Eldar is placing a deploy token on top. Not exactly sure what Eldar is planning on doing. Maybe he's going to do maybe he's going to build a bastion? I'm not entirely sure. This is a little bit strange. Yeah, this is definitely a little bit strange. I mean, I guess he could probably deploy and place a... Oh, wait, I think I see what he's probably planning on doing. He could... Because it is, in fact, possible to... Right, because the thing is, he actually does have an aspect warrior over here, but he wouldn't be able to deploy a bastion unless if he also had a unit on the uncontrolled planet in the top right corner. So let's take a look and see what he does. Okay, so an Obe in turn, it's going to do a deploy order on top right. So we're going to have to take a look and see what WAP does in return. So it looks like as if maybe WAP. I guess if it was up to me, I would definitely consider reconquering the top right corner and then just maybe playing it safe. I honestly don't know why. Yeah, I mean, thinking about the last turn, it seems like as if what I would have done last turn was just play more conservatively and just wipe off. And then just start wiping off pieces on the map one by one. That's usually one of the best ways to just force a concession, right? So let's take a look at the Space Marines order token. So then here, Space Marines have also considered doing another deployment. That's interesting. I'm not exactly sure if a double deployment is oftentimes warranted. Double deployment seems like a bit of a... It doesn't really seem as viable of a stacking strategy because the problem is there are other ways to mix your order tokens, and double deployments are usually inefficient. I mean, I guess the one thing that you could possibly consider doing whenever you're doing double deployments is maybe using a deploy order is rushing up to 3 cities, right? Like, if you're able to rush up to 3 cities, then maybe that could be a viable strategy, but in this case, it seems a little... not exactly sure what he's planning on doing. Maybe he just wants to reinforce both fronts. That could definitely pan out for him. But he's got to do something about it. Okay, so he's going to use a dominate order on top. Not exactly sure what the dominate order is able to do. So let's take a look and see what's going to... Yeah, I'm honestly a little bit confused. I'm not exactly sure what this order token pattern is supposed to represent. It seems a little bit... strange. Yeah, this is definitely like an order token stacking pattern that not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure how I would personally justify this. It seems a little bit awkward. I mean, how would you? I guess you could probably get more money here, but I think at this point you probably just need to start trading your money for positioning, and then once we have a good position, you should just leverage that even further into an even better position. But this, I find this a little bit. I'm finding this mildly confusing. Oh, okay. I think I see what's going on. I think I see what's going on. He probably just wants to do a double deploy to reestablish a new factory, and then once when there's a second deploy over here, he could actually start. He could start building maybe some additional units here. I mean, he's already. I mean, WAP's already maxed out in terms of material, so he could in fact actually get more material by using a dominate order. Alright, so there's an outmaneuver card, and then let's see if if he's going to consider placing the outmaneuver card on top. I actually, now that I think of it, I actually do see another way for WAP to maybe get back in the game if he outmaneuvers by placing the the advanced order token on top. Then there is definitely a possibility that Eldar could in fact do a tempo swing. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. This game has definitely been a lot weirder than I had anticipated. I mean, another thing that Eldar could do is that, and the other thing too is that once when Eldar decides to do to do another advance, he could in fact just go for the objective directly, thereby claiming the third city. And then once when you have a third city, you could start strategizing and getting your level 3 upgrades. But yeah, well, I guess maybe factoring the center here would actually make sense. So, okay, so it seems like what WAP's trying to do is he's going to do a double deploy. First deploying a factory, and then spamming some more units. So, yeah. Wonder what WAP's trying to do. I think he's definitely considering on maybe putting the advance. Okay, yes, so WAP does in fact choose to activate outmaneuver, and he is in fact going to place his order tokens on top. Okay, I can definitely see what's going on now. So then WAP is going to use the deploy order, and he's going to get a factory first for a cash token. I mean, you could just spend the cash token. That's okay. Well, I guess maybe he just doesn't want to overflow. I think the problem is like there's definitely the possibility of WAP getting of Eldar getting an overflow this turn. So Obey in turn responds. Well, he can only do one thing. He can only use an advance order, but the advance order can't do anything. So that was actually a good smother. That was definitely a very good smother for sure. That was a really good outmaneuver. It seems like as if that was a much better option than not. So unfortunately, Alex, in a cruel twist of irony, has to reveal the order token. He has to reveal the advance order, and there's just not much. And that advance order is definitely going to be wasted in that regard. So let's take a look and see what he's gonna do. I mean, unfortunately, oh, okay, I see. I think the thing is like Elder's just going to get some Falcons. He's gonna get, yeah. It seems like as if he's just gonna get some Falcons, but I think yeah, he could probably get double Falcons, or he could probably get some Wraithguard for once, man. Like just please get some Wraithguard. Wraithguard are very good for you. Their unit proc is actually incredibly useful, especially against Space Marines, right? So, but he's probably deliberating on it. I mean, unfortunately, the factory can only build up to 2 units, so doesn't seem to be too much. Yeah, so or yeah, maybe the best thing he could probably build is maybe just a Falcon, a Wraith Guard for the unit trigger. Oh, yes, yes, I can definitely see a really good move. I think that one of the things that he can do is that he could probably attack his objective over here, and then use Wraith Guard support, and then use the Wave Serpent, and then use the Wave Serpent card in order to reclaim the factory with the Wraith Guard. So that would, I could definitely see that panning out as a viable strategy. I think that the best thing that he has to do is just get a Falcon and maybe a Wraith Guard. I would definitely recommend getting the Wraith Guard at this point. So that would be a total of 5 material. And if he spends the cash of 5 material, and then he could also build a second city, a third city, or maybe a bastion. I think the bastion would probably be the better option in this case, but we're going to have to take a look and see what Wop does. So he's probably going to get a wave, a Falcon, and a Wraith Guard, perhaps. Yeah, I would probably just get the Wraith Guard. Yeah, I would definitely get the Wraith Guard. So that's a total of 7 material. You could also just dump the cash token and get some and get a Bastion. That could definitely work out in his favor. But then, assuming that he's... Well, let's take a look. Well, let's count our chicks before they hatch. So they have 3, 5, 6, 7. So there's that. I mean, he could spend the cash token, but the problem is if you're generating a lot of income and you already have a lot of income, then there's definitely a chance for then there's definitely the risk for overflow, right? So he's going to purchase those 2 units, Falcon and a Wraith Guard, for total of 5 material. So for a total of 7 material. Total of 7 material, but or maybe, yeah, it seems like as if he probably just doesn't want to go into overflows. Is he going to get a city? I don't know if you really need a city. You could probably, yeah, or you could probably get a factory. I guess maybe a factory would actually be pretty decent in this case because you already have relatively good control over this area, so it's probably just going to get a second factory. That seems a little bit strange, but a second factory could in fact work. Let's take a look and see what he plans on doing. Yeah, I guess maybe a factory there is actually not a bad idea. There's not really much that Alex could really do in order to conquer the factory, but it seems like as if Wop is thinking about how best to do this. He could actually take over 2 systems in one go if he using Wave Serpent Advance, right? So yeah, he could probably just get the factory. Yeah, I guess getting the factory isn't a bad idea. So he's going to spend the cash token for the factory because it's not a strong likelihood that he's going to do that. Okay, so then Obei's advance order is wasted. Now Eldar is going to do an advance order, and I'm going to let me see what he plans on doing. It seems like as if he wants to attack there. He obviously has to move a Hellborg frigate over here. So in order to make that a legal move. Well, either way, he is going to conquer the second city, and if you conquer the second, and once when you conquer the second city, it's once when you have 3 cities on board, it can be pretty tricky to come back. So they're gonna resolve a battle. So Eldar rolls. So Space Marines roll only 1 die. Eldar rolls 5. A Chadley count of 5 dice. And, oh, he's getting a lot of... Oh, he didn't draw Wave Serpent's Advance. Well, that's actually that was mildly disappointing, but he does have... But he's going to take over the city anyways. And if you take over the city, then I think that's all that really matters at this point. So... yeah, well, let's take a look and see what happens now. Yeah, well, sometimes that's just how life works. let me just take a look and see what this does. Alright, so for the Wave Serpent to work, you do in fact need to spend one morale dice. So there's a couple of things that need to work in order for Wave Serpent Advance in order to work, but there's a lot of combat cards that Eldar has that allows him to gain additional morale dice, so I don't think that's going to be a massive issue. Okay, so he's just going to play Fire Dragon's Vengeance, gain 2 D. Hold on. There's something illegal. Wraithguard doesn't trigger shields. So, yeah, okay. Well, at the very least, Eldar is re-establishing a threatening presence, and he does have 3 cities. Right? So, I mean, it's an aspect warrior, not... yeah, I guess in this case it didn't really matter at this point, but... it's always important just to make sure that, ensure that you have the correct technicalities, right? Okay, so then Space Marines have revealed an advance order, and that they're going to fight against 1 Hellbore frigate in the Void area. So 3 dice against 4 dice. Again, Space Marines could probably still win this via morale, so... there's definitely that. Oh, if you had only drawn that 1 round ago, that would have been a lot more useful. Okay, then. Okay, so it looks like as if Space Marines are gonna be... yeah, it seems like as if maybe just getting Vet Scouts or Blessed Power Armor, or just simply stalling for morale is probably the best way to go, because Eldar has only 2 morale, Space Marines have 4. So I think that if you just keep morale racing, or if you just use Recon is also a pretty decent option as well, right? Because if you use Recon, then you're able to corner the Eldar in a sense, right? So, okay, so not all hope is lost. It's definitely... Eldar is very much still in the game, and in fact, if anything at all, I do think that if Eldar doesn't make too many further misplays, he could probably just win via... it is possible for Eldar to win via Planetary Control or Econ Crush anyhow, right? Because both of them have claimed 1 objective each, but if you're able to just Econ Crush your opponent, then the remaining objective probably doesn't really matter as much, so... we definitely have that to look towards. Alrighty then. So yeah, I think I would have played Recon if I were I the Space Marines. Okay. So Space Marines reveal Recon and reveal a Recon, which turns up a Wave Serpent, and let's take a look. So he's going to gain 1 die, and then he's probably just going to gain some offense, because I just think it's... yeah, I think it's... I don't know. I would probably just go for defense, because there is a possibility for Eldar to roll 1 gun, which is... there's a 1 in 2 chance that Eldar could in fact roll a bolt gun, and by rolling a bolt gun, that could in fact bypass defense. So yeah, I think maybe just playing conservatively is probably the better option at this point. There's no need to take unnecessary risk, and yes, and there I go, I called it. So there is... so that's the first round of combat, and now for the second round of combat. Yeah, so it seems like as if all Space Marines really need to do is just play defensively, and Eldar with their handful of offense icons would probably not be able to do very much in return. Yeah, maybe this was a little bit of a teensy bit of a misplay, but then again, the problem is I probably would have put 2 Hellbore frigates over here as opposed to 1. So in that case, even if my opponent does, so in that case, my opponent wouldn't be able to cut me off nearly as well. Okay, so Eldar is getting Blessed Power Armor, gaining 2 defense. He's probably he could in fact just convert the 2 offense into 2 defense. So now he's getting Wraithguard Advance. He's going to gain either 1 Wraithguard support, he's going to gain 1 leadership, and then he's not going to spend 1 leadership to rally all of his units. So he does have 4 morale, but I mean, Space Marines can just play safe, play defensively, get Faith in the Emperor, and then just win via morale anyhow. So there we have it. There we have it. Space Marines do in fact reclaim that area, but Eldar in turn just can just simply retreat to this friendly area. Okay. And Eldar doesn't end. Space Marines do in fact win by morale. So it doesn't really matter at this point. So it's got 3, 4, 5, 6. He's already got a default of 6 with 7 morale with Faith in the Emperor. So Space Marines would in fact just win. Space Marines do in fact win at this point. Alrighty then. So with that out of the way, yeah, Space Marines should just reestablish control over the top left void of the bottom right corner, and now Eldar has to go next, and then Eldar can reveal a Dominate. Although I'm not exactly sure what the Dominate would. I mean, Dominate would definitely just give him more cash and forge tokens, right? But I mean, it's a little redundant. But yeah, but I guess that's actually not a bad move, because the thing is, if you get cash and forge tokens, then you could in fact start developing your Titan, and then once you start developing your Titan, along with a level 2 unit, then that could definitely work. Yeah, I definitely think that distributing the Hellbore frigates in this fashion was a bad mistake. I do think that if the Hellbore frigates were placed in the top right corner, were placed in the top left corner as opposed to the bottom right corner, he would have been able to defend his objective a lot better. Because the problem is, next turn Wop is going to go first, and then by going first, he's just this doesn't look too good. This looks a little bit. Yeah, there was definitely some throws on Wap's side as well, but I guess it's not horrendous. It is definitely redeemable. So Alex has forge tokens, which does at least enable him to get him some Space Marines for his using his 6 material. Yeah, I would have distributed my Hellbore frigates such that I had 2 Hellbore frigates in the top left corner, and then maybe only 1 Hellbore frigate at the very bottom, because because it really would not have worked otherwise. So he's going to assume he's going to get 2 Space Marines. Or a Space Marine and a Scout. Either way would definitely work. So he's definitely going to get that, and then he's going to get... Yeah, well, he can't really do much else except get 2 Space Marines. So, yeah, looks like as if he's going to take 2 Space Marines, and then... And from this point on, or a Scout. Yeah, I guess a scout would also work as well. Okay, so it definitely, yeah, well, but then again, I think that part of the issue is probably the RNG of the last battle as well. I think that the RNG for the Eldar definitely didn't go in their favor, because if he had drawn a Wave Serpent's Advance, he would have been able to take over this factory. So again, I kind of felt like as if taking over the city a little bit too rash was a little bit maybe it probably wasn't the best idea. I honestly would have just gone. I guess if it was up to me, I would have just gone for the factory. I would have just started reasserting and reestablishing my dominance turn by turn, because the objective in the bottom right corner is more or less just guaranteed at this point. I'm not exactly sure if you really had to rush for it. If you just get one objective, I mean, the thing is, when both players just have one objective token, then the person with the tempo advantage, with the map advantage, would is able to just leverage that into a win anyway. So I guess there's definitely that. Let's take a look and see what the schemes and tactics drawn are. So Alex draws an Exterminatus again. Wop draws. I don't think he's placed any strategized order tokens, so he can only move a Warp Storm this turn. Alrighty then. So it looks like Obe is using Exterminatus just to move the Warp Storm in the top left corner onto this column. And then Eldar in turn is moving Path of the Warrior. So it allows him to purchase one combat upgrade. Okay, now that's oh right, but he doesn't have any order tokens on top. So yeah, I don't think he has any order tokens on top, so that's actually a little bit disappointing in Eldar's case. He could have gotten either Holofield Emitter or Psychic Lance. Either one is pretty powerful, especially Psychic Lance. This is one of the most nasty. This is definitely one of the nastiest combat cards you can go up against. So, okay, well, that was mildly disappointing, but let's take a look and see what they plan on doing now. I mean, Wop is first player, so he does in fact at least block Eldar from capturing the second objective. I honestly think that the best play for Eldar at this point is just to be very conservative. All you need to do is just keep capturing one planet at a time, and then leverage your advantage, and then just leverage it to your advantage. It's like at this point, maybe I'm making too many assumptions at this point, but I really do think that Eldar still has a winning position, and if Eldar just doesn't throw the game, it is still possible for Eldar to win, right? I mean, one thing that I could conceivably see doing is Eldar could in fact try to eliminate the two Space Marine ships over here and just keep crushing material. I don't think that this is necessarily a push versus push game if Eldar doesn't want to do so. Like I've definitely played some games of Forbidden Stars where both players go for a push versus push strategy and therefore end up actually capturing material and are actually pursuing both objectives. But I think in this case, the most viable win con that Eldar appears to have is definitely an Econ Crush win con. As long as if Eldar can easily do an Econ Crush, they could leverage it into the Space Marines. I mean, here's the thing: Space Marines can definitely have factories on the map for sure, right? But again, if they have no material or most of their ships are gone, then they're not gonna win out at the end of the day, right? So let's take a look and see what Eldar does. I definitely think getting some Titans could definitely help. But Tech 2 swarming could definitely can help consolidate the map as well. But yeah. Well, one move I could possibly see for Space Marines is to maybe go for the city over here. But even if they go for this for the Eldar city over here, there is definitely I could still see the potential for a counter push. Okay, so Eldar opens up with the Dominate order on the very bottom. Interesting. Interesting. Let's see what Space Marines do in turn. They could, in fact, go for an advance order, maybe to capture one of the cities. I'm not entirely sure what what Alex is planning on doing. I mean, this guy makes a lot of unexpected moves, so I don't necessarily know how I could best anticipate what he's doing, but he could definitely just he could just I mean, he could consider advanced smothering and then just getting the city over here. That's one thing he could consider doing, but maybe it's not entirely necessary. So let's see what Alex plans on doing. Could do an advance. Um, hmm, This is interesting. This is definitely an interesting circumstance. Well, I could definitely see maybe doing it is possible to perhaps do a deploy order on the very bottom, and then maybe place, and then maybe do an advanced smother on top in order to gain some, in order to further develop this the newly taken factory, right? So that was so there's definitely so he could consider doing that, and it looks like as if he is going for a could go for a deploy strategy. Could go for a deploy. Alrighty then. So yeah, this is definitely shaped up. This has definitely been shaping up to be a pretty interesting game. I mean, perhaps as Eldar, one thing you could definitely do, I would do, is place a deploy token over here, because obviously if you can reinforce your fronts even further and just develop even more and start developing more ships and start locking down the board with more with more of your fleets and units, you could possibly win the game by just holding out long enough, right? And once when you do a deploy order, you could probably use a strategize order as well in order to get some more up higher tier combat cards. I mean, both Psychic Lance and Hollow Field Emitter are absolutely nutty cards, even without the Eldar Titan. So I would consider getting them this turn, especially considering how much of an advantage Eldar has, right? So, but yeah, that's how I would personally play it. If you're ahead, just get further ahead. There's no need to take unnecessary risks or anything of that sort, right? So that's all I think Eldar has to do, just get further and further ahead. So it's all they need to do, all Eldar has to do. And okay, yeah. I don't know. It seems like at this point there is a strong potential for Eldar to just simply do a mock-up. So I guess if there's a possibility that that the game could end by planetary control, I guess I'll probably just start setting up the planetary control dice. Okay, now, so let's take a look at this. Alright, color tint, Space Marines, yeah, Space Marine blue, flying. This one, Eldar. Alright, so then Eldar have control of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets. So that's 6 planets. right? Jeez. Just gonna move them over here, and then Space Marines have control over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets. For 5 planets. Yeah, I guess we could probably put it over here, or I guess maybe if I just place it over here, then that might be an acceptable compromise. Yeah, so Space Marines have control over 5 planets, and Eldar have control over 6 planets at this point. I don't really... Yeah, it seems like as if maybe what Eldar could possibly do at this point is maybe just keep taking over Space Marine planets and just not let Space Marines win the game. I think as long as if Space Marines could just... As long as if Eldar can just consistently take over one planet at a time, there's not too much they can do. Okay, so then Eldar is going to place another Dominate order. Not exactly sure if Dominate is really the best choice at this point. It seems a little bit scuffed, but yeah, I think one potential issue I could definitely see is Space Marines taking over the top left corner of the Eldar home system. So let's take a look and see what Obe does. What Space Marines do. Alrighty then, so we've got the planetary counter over here. Oops. 6 planets in favor of Eldar, and 5 from Space Marines. Alrighty then, so looks like as if the next thing that Eldar is planning on doing is maybe just... I'll probably just move them a little bit further to the left. See what's going on. Yeah, it seems like... Okay, so Space Marines respond with an advance order. Well, I think he's probably going to do a double advance anyways. He's going to... He could definitely do... He could consider getting a deploy, but... Well, it seems like as if maybe Space Marines probably just wanted to establish a new base of operations. There is definitely a possibility that he could do that, and then he's going to do an advance order. Yeah, that could definitely work. It seems like as if maybe at this... Yeah, although... Assuming Eldar actually played reasonably well, they could... I think Eldar could probably just win via planetary control and just by just mopping up using material and then just conquering the material at this point. Although recently, based on the current, but based upon based upon some of the recent casts that I've done, there have definitely been some interesting upsets for sure. So Space Marines stack are going to stack a Strategize on top, although I'm not exactly sure what the Strategize token would necessarily do at that point. Okay, so then Eldar reveal an Advanced Order token. One of the things... Now, there are several ways that I think he could play this. He could probably try to kick out the Strike Cruisers, and then maybe... Okay, it seems like as if that's probably the option that Eldar is going for. He's going to be using his Hellbore frigates to maybe just destroy the Strike Cruisers, and then perhaps... Oh, but he doesn't really have Corsair raids afterwards, so he won't be able to take out the ground units. Alright, so Eldar roll 4 guns against Space Marine's 2 defense. He's going to get hold of the line, but... And unfortunately, he doesn't have Fire Dragon's Vengeance, but Wraithguard Advance is probably more than enough for... It will definitely suffice at this point, so he's probably going to gain 1 die. And were I the Eldar, I certainly wouldn't mind shifting 2 defense dice into 2 offense dice, into two offense, especially considering how Space Marines have a crap ton of defensive options, have a crap ton of defensive combat cards. So Space Marines respond with hold the line. Let's see what else they get. I think that maybe getting a defense die. Yeah, getting a defense die would probably help because Space Marines are already high on morale automatically. But with 5 guns against 6 shields, it's basically a do nothing round, and 2 guns against 2 shields, it's basically one of those do nothing rounds. So we now move on to the second round of combat. What will it be? What will it be? Okay, so Space Marines have already put down yet another hold the line, which is definitely something, which is par for the course, especially considering how hold the line will allow Space Marines in order to rally their strike cruisers, and it does in fact proc defense. Eldar, on the other hand, would probably looks like as if he's deliberating between Wraithguard support or Wave Serpent, and he is in fact going to be playing Wraithguard support, gaining either 1 defense or 1 morale. He could have gained either 1 defense or 1 morale first. I'm not exactly sure why he skipped that. Okay, so he does in fact rally one of the units, and the Space Marines do in fact hold the line. So far, Eldar have a total of 6 morale against Space Marine 7 morale. Okay, so there's definitely there is a possibility that he would in fact win. That Space Marines could just win by morale. This is definitely this is more unexpected than I had first anticipated. So again, I'm honestly a little bit skeptical of getting Wave Serpent all the time now. Now it seems like as if with Wave Serpent, it seems to work well if you already have a good death ball of Falcons, comprising of Falcons, Aspect Warriors, or Wraithguard. But if you don't really have that to begin with, it's just I just think that Wraithguard, I just think that Wave Serpent is more or less just a really overglorified defense card. It's just an overglorified defense card, which is not exactly something that you want against Space Marines. So there we go, folks. I mean, seems like as if the veteran scouts have definitely come in handy for that battle. It seems like as if going for a defense morale strategy as Space Marines has panned out for the Space Marines, especially against Eldar's poor morale ships. Okay, so then the Space Marines are going to use an advanced order, and then by using an advanced order, they're just going to capture the Eldar city, swinging the Eldar, thereby gaining 1 additional city, which I think is a solid move. That was one of the major concerns that I had. I really do think that Wok kind of failed to capitalize on some of his advantages earlier on, and then now Eldar has to reveal this order token, which is an advance. So let's see what Eldar is planning on doing. He could probably advance the Hellbourne frigate into the void area and shoot up in the hopes of shooting up a scout, and that is a doable feat, especially considering how he has tactical strikes. I think that if you advance into the system and then just shoot using tactical strikes, you should be able to I do think that you should be able to just kill the scout, right? You should be able to just kill the scout, right? Alright, so it seems like as if hold on, let me just adjust the planetary control dice. So that's probably what I would consider doing. I would probably consider just going there and then using up tactical strikes in order to get 4 dice, and then now he could in fact attack the Space Marine, but what concerns me is probably just the morale racing, but because he does have a Wraithguard, and Wraithguard usually tend to match very well against Space Marines, could definitely work. So, okay, so it seems like as if Wop is just trying to take over is going to slaughter the Space Marine, although maybe in this exception, I'm not exactly sure if I would trade 3 material for this. I honestly would have just bombarded the Scout, and I would have just so as to limit his income, so as to limit the Space Marine income this turn. But I'm not exactly sure. This is not the type of. I don't think that this is panning out, and getting the additional reinforcement token, guess it could work. But then again, maybe he is doing this just so he can push for the second objective, right? Because if you're able to push for the second objective and just kill off a Space Marine, then you could in fact win by objective capture. Although, for me personally, I certainly wouldn't mind waiting a little bit longer just to have a guaranteed victory, right? I mean, if you just if you just steamroll over your opponent, then that's probably the safer option. But anyways, we have a battle over here. So then Eldar has 2 Vulcans against Space Marines 1 defense. The Eldar have 2 Fire Dragon's Vengeances, which I think are pretty solid options, especially against Hold the Line. I mean, the probability. If you have 2 really good offense cards, then sometimes I might consider just playing 2 offense cards at once, one after the other, because the probability that your opponent has both defense cards is a little slim by comparison. So you might as well just use this as you might as well just leverage this as an advantage. You might as well just use the double offense draw to your advantage. Wave Serpent probably wouldn't really do much, especially considering how there are no Wave Serpents present in this combat. Wraithguard Advance is also another viable option. The secondary would in fact proc, and then by procking the secondary, Space Marines would in fact have to route at least one of their units, although Hold the Line is extremely annoying as well. So it seems like as if maybe what I would personally do is I would probably go for Fire Dragon's Vengeance, because if Space Marines in turn play Hold the Line, you could definitely respond with a Wraithguard Advance on the second turn in order to route a unit, and by then the probability, I think I actually did a bit of math a while ago, and I think the thing is, if you know that your opponent has 1 Hold the Line, the probability that he'll have a second Hold the Line given the information that you've already gained is around 30%. So I think that a 30% chance of being able to route a unit without having him stand things up is a pretty decent choice. Okay, so Eldar does in fact play Fire Dragon's Vengeance for the 2 Vulcans and the 2 defense. This is definitely one of my favorite cards against Space Marines. And Space Marines do get Hold the Line, but he gains 2 defense, and there's no way he can gain the defense tokens. So Eldar inflicts 4 points of damage inflicts 1 point of damage total, because 4 minus 3 is 1, and then Space Marines fail to do any damage. So therefore, Space Marines have to route at least one of their cards. Now that Hold the Line has been played, there is a strong possibility that Obe could just play. Eldar could just play either another Fire Dragon's Vengeance, or even a Wraithguard Advance. Either one of them would be nice, but I think Fire Dragon's Vengeance might actually be the slightly better play in this case, because it just gives the Space Marines the Eldar a combination of both offense and defense, right? So it seems like as if he's just going to be playing Wraithguard Advance. Okay, that's actually a pretty solid move. Yeah, so it seems like Wraithguard Advance is in fact the card that he's going to play, and looks like as if Eldar's probably going to chance it. I'm going to assume that he's going to chance it, and then he gets an additional offense die. Now, his Space Marine, unfortunately, has to be routed, because because of the secondary, and then using Blessed Power Armor, he does in fact gain 2 additional defense. So over here you have 1, 2, 4. You have 2, 4, 6 defense against 6 offense. So no routes for. So that doesn't happen. But then the Eldar actually suffers 1 point of damage. Well, that's a slightly ironic twist right there. Now, he could get Wraithguard support, and then maybe... Oh, no, wait. Wraithguard support doesn't really work, because the problem is, if he gets Wraithguard support, then he'll get either one... And then he won't be able to rally his Wraithguard on the next turn. So, unfortunately, he does have to suffer 1 point of damage. I do think that in this case, because he's already played one Hold the Line, maybe just, I guess, routing the Wraithguard is actually okay. It's not the worst possible option, because either way, he's going to end up with 2 morale, right? And I guess the the Fire Dragon's Vengeance could also be used to maybe kill off a Space Marine. But hold on, but he has 3, 5, 6 guns against 4 defense. So I have to take a look and see what he does. Alright, so it seems like as if maybe he's just going to use Wraithguard support in order to pivot to defense, because he's probably going to win by morale anyhow. So he does in fact play Wraithguard support, gaining either one random die or 1 leadership. If it was up to me, I would probably just gain the 1 leadership and then just win by morale. So, by winning with morale, he does get... Yeah, it seems like as if maybe that's probably the best thing to get, because the Space Marine... Yeah, it seems like as if maybe winning by morale is... Maybe getting the morale die is probably the better option. So, he's gonna get... like, if it was up to me personally, I would just gain the morale die and then just shift 2 offense into 2 defense. And with that out of the way, we should be able to get... So, that's how I would personally do it. I mean, all of his units are already routed, so if you just only make 2 defense, 2 damage, he could just tank it on the Space Marine, and then it would have been a little wasted at that point. So I think at this point it's probably better just to pivot from offense to defense. So, seems like as if Eldar is still deciding as to how he wants to resolve this. So he is in fact going to get a morale die, and he is in fact going to pivot 2 offense into 2 defense. Then Space Marines will just reveal Blessed Power Armor, just gaining 2 defense, but that's just not going to do much. So the Space Marines are basically forced to retreat. Well, this is definitely an interesting move. I mean, I guess it does put Eldar a little bit closer to his objective, but honestly, at this point... Okay, so... wait, so it doesn't really happen. So, in this case, it seems like as if he's going to unroute the Space Marine. So he's got 3, 4 morale, but the problem is... Oh, wow! Oh, wait. But the problem is, the Eldar have 5 morale, so actually using Emperor's Champion just wouldn't really matter at this point. So he's forced to retreat over there. Yeah, this is why I find this a little bit questionable. This move seems a little bit questionable, because it is true that while Eldar can threaten the objective, it's not as threatening. Although, I guess you also have to consider the fact that Eldar can do the cheapo teleport move. By using a cheapo teleport move, he could in fact get that. But then, of course, Space Marines try to do a Bastion Camp, which is par for the course for Space Marines, and then now Space Marines want to use an Advance Order. That's definitely a pretty fascinating idea. Oh, okay, I think I see what Eldar's master plan was all along. He probably just wants to use an Advance Order. You see, however, I think the biggest problem I have with the Advance Order over here is that if he tries to use an Advance Order, he could probably just move the Wraithguard onto the factory, so that probably wouldn't have worked. So Obe does in fact use the Oh, or maybe he is in fact not doing that. Yeah, he could probably go for it. I mean, if he goes for it, but then he draws Wave Serpent Advance, but then Eldar draws a Wave Serpent Advance, he could just move the Wraith Guard onto this planet, and then he could be, and then it is still possible for him to just do it to do a dominate order, and then just shuffle one of his units over there. So it seems like as if Space Marines are in fact committing a full force against the Eldar. But again, there is a 78% chance that he could move the Falcon, that he could draw the Wave Serpent card and have the Wraith Guard move back to the factory and capture more materials. So that could definitely be a tricky option that could occur. Alright, so he does in fact draw a morale die, and he does in fact have Wave Serpent. So then with Wave Serpent, he could in fact just use the... So even if his Falcon is basically completely screwed, there's completely screwed and cornered, he could just play Wave Serpent in order to move his Wraith Guard to the factory, to the planet containing the factory, and then use a dominate order to jump the Wraith Guard into the second part. Okay, so then Space Marines open up with a hold the line, gaining an additional morale die, and he's going to gain 2 defense. No surprise there. And then he's going to use Wraith Guard Advance. Okay, I'm actually a little bit skeptical about this. This doesn't seem... Wait, why would you do that? He has 2 guns. He could actually route one of your units and then render this a little bit obsolete. So, okay, so he's going to get just one... He's just going to pivot 1 die into offense, and then on top of that, he's probably going to get rid of 1 leadership. Wow, this is a little bit... Oh, that's strange. I mean, maybe he could get Wave Serpent Advance next turn, and then that could work a little bit better. So yeah, it seems like as if this has definitely been a pretty strange game for sure. Alrighty then. So Space Marines are getting Veteran Scouts, which is okay. So now I think I see how you get Veteran Scouts. You just have to play it as like your second or your third card, and he's going to get Wave Serpent Advance. So Eldar is going to gain 1 die. Yeah, so I do think he's going to retreat 1 of his units, but I'm not sure. Well, he could probably retreat 1 of his units back into the system tile over here. So he's going to gain 1 die, and then let's see if he's going to gain some additional defense. He's got 2, 5, 6 offense. He's got 6 offense against 5 defense, so he could spend 1 morale die, and then he's going to use the Vet Scouts. And then using Wave Serpent, he's going to spend 1 leadership die to just conquer the factory. To just reconquer the factory, which I think is actually a good move. If by conquering the factory, at the very least, he's able to restabilize. Okay, so then there's basically no net change in the number of planets held. So then Eldar have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they actually have a planetary control of 5. And then Space Marines, on the other hand, have a planetary control of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're actually even in terms of planetary control. But Space Marines are somehow ahead when it comes to cities. So... well, that's strange. Oh, crap. Well, I guess I already placed a city there. but okay, so Eldar can in fact use a dominate order, and then using a dominate order, he could shuffle the unit, the Wraithguard, all the way into into the 2 reinforcement token planet over there. But he chooses not to. He elects not to. Well, either way, you know what? I think that it is actually possible for Eldar to just win next round, assuming planetary control, right? I mean, I mean, he could capture the objectives, but again, I kind of feel like as if in this case, I would have much rather just, especially if I was in WAP's in WAP's situation, I really would have just went for an econ crush strategy by just going for by just taking over these planets. But yeah, I guess that's not too. But I guess this is definitely an acceptable way of doing things for sure. So then he's going to. So Eldar is going to use a deploy order. He has one. He has one city, so he can at least develop the rest of his Wraithguard, as well as the Helper frigates and the Aspect Warriors. I guess either one of them could definitely work. So I'm gonna have to see what he chooses. Okay, so he's going to get some Helbor frigates, and he's going to get some Wraithguard. Then he's going to get he's going to get some Wraithguard for sure. Yeah, okay, so it seems like as if Eldar is stabilizing, and they are in a reasonably good position. But he has a build limit of 6, I forgot, so he definitely is able to spend all the money on that. So that's basically a total of 11 material if you count the cash token. So he is able to get all 4 of them. You know, maybe Eldar could probably win next turn. I think that maybe that all Eldar has to do next turn is just to run a giant death ball. Is just to run a giant death ball and capture the final objective. I think that if that's all that next turn, Eldar could definitely take it by just sending in a giant swarm of units, right? I mean, keep in mind that next turn Eldar is going to go second, so I could definitely see that as a possibility. Maybe he's just thinking about how he's going to distribute his units, or maybe he's just going to get it. Okay, so he looks like as if maybe he's just going to get an additional aspect order, but hold on a second. Wait, this can't work. This actually can't work. He's going to exceed supply cap. He has 3 here and then 1 here, so then he's going to exceed supply cap. Yeah, this actually makes no sense. You can't. This probably isn't the best thing possible. I don't think that this is all that. Yeah, I think that maybe going with the original plan of having 2 Helbor frigates is probably the better idea, because you don't want. Because there's already a Wraithguard over here, so you would be exceeding your supply cap. Okay, so he's going to place this. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense. I think you should probably swap out an Aspect Warrior for a Frigate, because you're going to exceed the supply. So yeah, but he's taking a Helbor Frigate instead. And then let's see what he plans on doing. Could potentially distribute 1 along each one, and then he's going to place the other 2 Aspect Warriors on the factory. Alright, yeah. It seems like as if based upon the current positioning of Eldar could very well just go for a Death Ball Swarm over here. Now, the only thing that I think that now, there is one way that Eldar could fail to capture the objective, which is by this Warp Storm, or even by this Warp Storm, shifting. So I guess we'll have to take a look at the event phase and then see what goes on. If the warp storms shift, then there's a much slimmer chance of Eldar possibly getting the objective, right? So it's definitely that. Now the second, but I think in this case, I don't think it's entirely possible. I think it is actually, yeah, no, I don't think it's possible for Space Marines to contest this objective. They would definitely have to choose a deploy order along with double advances, but because Eldar is going first, it is actually possible to stop the double advance immediately. Okay, so he's going to get an Exodite colony. He could be, one of the things I really like about Exodite Colony has a lot to do with the fact that I could spend one material on a system, on an uncontrolled 3-cost system in order to gain additional profits while improving my tech level simultaneously. And it doesn't really look like as if the Space Marines are going to be doing anything regarding that anytime soon. So, okay, well, he chooses to place the Exodite colony right in the homeworld, but again, you could place it in an uncontrolled area. Alright, so let's take a look and see what Space Marines draws. If they do in fact draw a card that allows them to shift the warp storm up or down, could do that. Okay, so alright, it looks like as if this is going to be one giant. Okay, so it definitely looks like as if Eldar has the opportunity to just simply win this game, to simply win this turn by advanced smothering on top of bottom left. So yeah, this has definitely been a pretty interesting series so far. I never anticipated. On the one hand, Eldar gained a huge economic advantage in the very beginning of the game, and yet somehow, somewhere, the economic advantage was thrown every now and then. But it seems like as if Eldar is definitely, but as of now, Eldar is in a good position in order to take over the Space Marine Bastion, provided that Eldar doesn't throw yet again. There's I guess maybe as Eldar second, I would just do an advanced smother. I think the advanced smother is just the safest, easiest way to win at this point. You already have if you bring in 3 Wraith Guard and 2 Aspect Warriors, I'm pretty sure you're more than likely to just win at that point. That's 10 morale. Well, no, I guess. I mean, that's 10 morale against 8, and while Space Marines have a total of 8 morale, over here, and they have some cards that allow them to gain additional morale. It's still a winnable advantage. It's still winnable for the Eldar right here, right? Because I think that if you take a look at their faction card, they do in fact have 2 morale for both their level 0 and their level 1 units. So, let's see where this is gonna go. Let's take a look. Well, I mean, at the very least, Eldar do have the opportunity to do... Well, I guess if you really want to guarantee the win, you could probably just do a double advance into this territory over here. You could just send in your first wave of Eldar and to possibly conquer this city, to possibly conquer this to conquer the objective, and then afterwards you could just reveal a deploy afterwards in case your first wave fails to develop some Falcons, right? So yeah, alrighty then. This could very well be the last round of the game. So we're gonna have to see where this goes. Hmm. Alrighty then. Yeah, I guess maybe double advance into this area is probably the better option. You could probably, alternatively, you could play it a little bit safe and maybe just do one advance over here just to completely block off the strike cruisers. Okay, so Space Marines are going to do a strategize on this system over here. Now, if Space Marines perform a strategize with 2 cities, Space Marines could get Show No Fear, and then Show No Fear is just going to block Eldar even further from. It's basically another morale booster, right? But yeah, well, I guess we're going to have to take a look and see how the order token stacking goes. Oh, okay, so Space Marines don't choose not to do a strategize. Oh, or maybe they do. Maybe Space Marines do, in fact, definitely want to go for a strategize. So, using a alright, so let's take a look and see what Eldar does in kind. So Eldar is going to see what Eldar does in kind. It seems like as if maybe, I mean, I suspect that plausibly speaking, there are 2 possibilities. There's actually a third possibility that I didn't see. There is a possibility that maybe Eldar could in fact place an advanced order token in the top right to deny the city, but that doesn't seem to be the best possible choice. Okay, so he's placing an advance order in the center of the map. Well, that's slightly unanticipated. I never thought that would be. Oh, okay. Okay, I think I see what the advance token is for. I think the advance token is probably just a defensive advance. It's one of those defensive advance orders that allow you to get the final say on the planet. So that could actually be that could be what Eldar is thinking of at this point. Okay, so either way, I do think that putting some Wraith Guard over here would help a lot in this regard. Would allow Eldar to take the second objective while defending against the Space Marines. Okay then. So let's see what Eldar's second move is gonna be. I would probably place the advanced order token at the very last moment in bottom left. Okay then. So one possibility that I also see is maybe just using a dominate order to gain a reinforcement token from this area and from this area from top middle and putting it over here onto this planet onto the 2 reinforcement planet. That could also work as well, right? Or another thing that Eldar could also do is maybe just get reinforcements from this planet. But I do think that if you can at least force Eldar to force the Space Marines to spend uh, an order token blocking the Eldar dominate, that could pan out as well. Okay, so it seems like as if Eldar are probably going to use strategize and maybe use Farseers. I wonder what Eldar could get. They could get Fire Prism. Fire Prism could in fact work, and I do think that while Fire Prism, I mean, at the very least, it's basically like a second Fire Dragons, and if you're on the offense, you do gain additional guns. So if anything at all, Fire Prism could be a viable upgrade. I don't see Spirit Seer's Guidance working anytime soon, so we're just gonna have to take a look. And now, Eldar. is... Let's see what Eldar would do. I mean, there are... yeah, Strategize would definitely work. I mean, Strategize is definitely is an incredibly useful order token. The other thing I can see... Okay, so it seems like as if Space Marines are planning another Strategize on top. The Space Marines do, in fact, have the city advantage, so there is that option for sure to further upgrade the Space Marine combat deck. The Break the Line doesn't really look too appealing, and Armored Advance seems a little lackluster. At this point, I would consider going for level 3 upgrades where I Space Marines, but again, it's... I guess that's just assuming the best possible conditions, right? Eldar could also capture the third city and just reclaim the city in the top right corner, and then strategize afterwards to get level 3 combat upgrades. Once you start getting level 3 combat upgrades, it's very difficult to get outmatched in combat. So, we're going to have to take a look and see what Eldar plan on doing next. Yeah, I would, at the very least, I would save up the advanced order token for the very last moment. So, that's kind of strange. Okay, so what did Eldar do? It seems like as if Eldar... Oh, no. It's still Eldar's turn. Alrighty then. I would consider doing it deploy, because if you're going to be doing an advance, then if you're going to advance into the Space Marines territory, it is still possible for you to... You can just deploy and just develop some more Falcons, right? So, let's see what he plans on doing, what Blue plans on doing. So those are the three basic options that Eldar has. Okay, so Eldar is going to place a double strategize on top. That's a pretty strange decision, so to speak. And then I'm assuming that Space Marines are planning on doing an advance order on top. That could be how it goes. And now it is Eldar's turn. So I am assuming that Eldar probably just wants to use an advance order token and then maybe place it on top. Yep, exactly as I had anticipated. So then now it is Obe's turn. It's Obe's turn, and then with Obe's turn, he has to... He's going to use the advance order, which is something that I would predict he's going to use. He's just going to develop he's just going to put all 3 ships into one block over there, and then he's just going to take over, and then he's going to advance the Land Raider, taking over claiming control of the factory once again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Space Marines are up by planetary control, and then Eldar are down by 1 planet. So there's that to keep in mind. The Eldar have to go next. So Eldar is probably just going to use an advanced order, and then I think if you really want to advance, probably shouldn't overcommit. Let me think about what he's going to do. I mean, I think that developing that using the 2 aspect warriors over here is is a good option. He could go for Wraithguard and 4 aspects. That is something that I see, but the problem with doing that is that it leaves this planet a little bit under-defended. So he is going, so let's see where he's going to go. Let me just take a look at this. Okay, so that is actually a Space Marine order token, like, right underneath. He is gonna... I could conceivably see maybe 2 Wraithguard and 3 aspects, but that would just leave it vulnerable to a Land Raider and a Space Marine, which is not something that you want to do. So it's a somewhat risky move, but he could go for... He could attack using 5 units and then do a counter, and then just do a counter attack should the Space Marines win this system, right? So, yeah, that's what I would personally do. I would personally go for... well, that's an interesting choice. I guess I could play a little bit conservatively. I mean, I am still ahead, so I could play a little bit conservatively. But it seems like as if they're probably gonna go for... Okay, yeah, it definitely looks like... It looks like an all-in assault from the Eldar against the Space Marines. For the final objective. Alrighty then. Okay, so... Alright, so Eldar rolls their full set of 8. Space Marines roll only 6 dice. Roll only 6 dice, but they have the annoying Bastion, which is incredibly tanky. So Eldar is already has 10 morale compared to Space Marines' 8 morale, meaning that as long as if Eldar just keeps leveraging any type of advantage that they have for morale, Eldar, I could, conceivably speaking, I could definitely conceive Eldar winning this one. So Eldar have Wave Serpent. So this is definitely this is a bit of an interesting composition. Oh wait, but Wave Serpent can't proc this combat because there are no Falcons. The Wraithguard support. Okay, so they're just chucking the dice. So it's 8 dice. Okay, and they have the exact... So they have like a mirror match between the dice. Whoa, wait. Hold on a second. 6 dice. 6 dice only for Space Marines. Yeah, it should be only 6 dice. Yeah. Alright, there we go. Okay, so it's not a mirror matchup, so Eldar is hitting Space Marines for 1 gun, but the problem is, if he doesn't do a surplus... Well, the problem is, if Eldar fails to do at least 3 damage, there's not going to be much use for the Bastion. Could probably go for a Wraithguard Advance. I think Wraithguard Advance actually seems like a reasonably good choice, but at the same time, he could have Hold the Line, and Hold the Line usually doesn't seem to work too well. So Wraithguard support could in fact be usable. Wraithguard Advance is probably a little bit better in this case. Yeah, I mean, Eldar already have a lot of morale boosters, so... But Space Marines have Hold the Line, and if Space Marines have Hold the Line, then... And Space Marines are defending, there's not really much that... Maybe Wraithguard Advance may not be the best option, especially considering how fragile they are, especially considering how by pivoting to offense, you're basically giving Space Marines 3 additional guns. So, yeah, well, buildings don't count as units. Buildings are not units. for any purposes. So, yeah, already then. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Could play Recon. Yeah, this is what concerns me. If he plays Wraithguard Advance and he pivots to 2 offense, that's not exactly the best option. I do think that maybe Wraithguard. You know, I guess in this case, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't play too defensively, but given that Space Marines don't have a lot of offensive cards remaining in their deck, I just think that racing for more. I think that morale racing is probably the better option at this point. So then defense, and then he's just going to pivot to defense, and then there's nothing. He's obviously not going to gain morale. So then he's got 3. So far, Eldar has a total of 13 morale, whereas Space Marines have only 2, 3, 6, 8 morale. So he's got 5 bulk guns against 5 defense, but that's not going to cut it, so it doesn't really matter. That was a do-nothing round. So let's take a look and see what the next card is. So the next card is going to be Faith in the Emperor, which allows him to gain 2 morales. So he's going to get Wraithguard support, and by using Wraithguard support, he's probably just going to gain probably won't pivot. I mean, I at this point, I probably would just pivot at this point, just so I can get more morale die. It's just so, because I don't think that these 2 guns are ever going to hit for very much anyways, right? So, Faith in the Emperor, he's gaining 2 morale, then now Space Marines are up to 10, whereas Eldar have 10, 11, 12, 14, so I don't think it's possible to really win. I think that in this case, the Nash Equilibrium is probably just Wraithguard Advance. Just get some morale, you know, and maybe pivot into offense. But I don't think offense pivoting is really all that necessary at this point. I think that if you just play Wraithguard Advance for the icons, you're just guaranteed a victory for the battle. So there's that. I mean, there's basically 10 morale, 11, 12, 13, 14 morale. He has 3, 6, 8, 9, 10 morale, and then Hold the Line basically gives 12 morale. There's not really much that he could do, but I guess we might as well just resolve it fully. So then Wraithguard Advance. Don't think it's even relevant at this. Yeah, at this point, I don't think it really matters for Space Marines. Space Marines actually just can't do jack shit against the final play. And then the last play, Hold the Line, only gives the Space Marines 2 additional morale, which is not enough to... Which is definitely not enough. So... Oh, okay, well, I mean, I guess there's Hold the Line. Well, okay, well, I guess the thing is, he is routing that. He is, unrouting the Space Marine, but okay, but either way, it's not. He still loses on morale, so that's 8, 10, 11, 12, whereas he's got 10, 13, he's got 15. Eldar has a total leadership of 15, so there is no way that could happen. Alrighty then. So it looks like as if WAP is definitely taking this game. So blue in turn. So Space Marines are going to do this in turn. So this is basically 5 and 5. Hold on, let me take a look. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Alrighty then. So in a last desperate bid, Space Marines are going to be fighting. Are going to square off against the Eldar for some. Are going to square off against the Eldar. So it's 5 versus 4. Now, even if Space Marines do win this combat, Eldar could very easily retake the objective using the final order tokens. So again, I think it's more or less called at this point, but it's always fun to see what the final outcome is. Well, I mean, he does have to leave one aspect warrior behind, but it's pretty easy to reclaim the planet, right? So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alrighty then. So he's gonna get one. Alright, so then Alex is going to play a recon, which allows him to spy on the Eldar's face down combat card. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to flip it up. So he does in fact get a recon, and he'll get 2 bolt guns, but if he gets 2 bolt guns, there is still a possibility that he could get a shield, right? So these are basically 2 models. It is still possible for Eldar to. And then he does have Emperor's Champion, so he's gaining 2 guns against that. I mean, he has to roll the die. He's got to roll the die. Might as well roll the die first, right? And see where you're. Okay, so he does in fact gain an additional gun, and then now he can gain either 3 defense icons, unless if he spends 1 morale die. I'm going to assume, okay, so the Space Marines do in fact spend 1 morale die, and places it over there. So finally a combat round where things actually die. So 5 bolt guns against 4 defense, so he's gonna have to route 1 thing. He's probably gonna route the. I would probably just route the Fire Dragon's Vengeance. I would probably just kill off the Aspect Warrior, and then maybe just use Wraithguard to perhaps route a Space Marine, right? So that's one thing that I would probably do. I would probably just kill off the Aspect Warrior, and then just use the Wraithguard as a unit trigger for Wraithguard Advance. But you could also use Command of the Autarch and then just rally him again, right? And then once you rally, then you can just get more combat icons. Like, one of the things I really like about Command of the Autarch is it allows you to rally, and then and then you can basically just play another card afterwards. Okay, but it seems like as if he's probably just going to go for some unit routing over here. So again, the Space Marines are going to go for a recon yet again. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 guns against the Space Marines 3 defense. If he doesn't go for a recon, if he doesn't go for the defense tokens, then he will be routed yet again. So he's going to go for 2 offense. And he's got 2, 4, 4. At this point, you could stand your ground, but because Eldar does have an order token underneath, it is still possible for Eldar to still win this. So then he's probably gonna gain. I guess I would probably gain. Okay, so So it seems like as if Space Marines are just gonna play a little bit more conservatively this round. There is a strong likelihood that Eldar could get. Yeah, well, let's take a look and see what Eldar gets. I mean, gaining 1 combat die could swing the things in his favor. Okay, so it looks like as if maybe he's just banking on the fact that the Wraithguard. He's just hoping that the Wraithguard might not be routed, but he is going to use the Emperor's Champion. I'm going to assume that he's probably going to use the Emperor's Champion scheme at some point or another. Now, he does have 5 guns against 2 defense. If he actually shifts the dice, he will be able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the problem is, 5 No, sorry, I mean 6 bolt guns against 3 defense. It's really not enough to kill the other things, so should be rolling a die though. Wait, hold on a second. Should he be rolling a die? Or maybe, yeah, this is just what happens. Like, Alex usually likes to think a lot about his combat math and to think about the 1 kajillion different possibilities the combat could go before fully committing to a decision. Although, yeah, I guess 5 guns is not bad, but there is a 1 in 3 chance that that Eldar could just block it, right? That Eldar could just roll a defense die and then block all 5 hits. So, we're just going to have to take a look and see what goes on. There is... Let's see now. Let's take a look. Hmm. 2 defense into 2 offense. Yeah, it seems like as if both players are probably just thinking about the different possibilities. So then, WAP is in fact getting an offense. Okay, now if he gets an offense, he gets 3, 4, 5 against 3. So he can actually pivot 1 defense die into an offense, and then force the Space Marine to, and then slaughter the Space Marine, and then neglect the last ability. So he's probably... Oh, yeah. Oh, or he could just do both. If he does both, then there's just no way in. Then he could actually kill either the Land Raider or the Space Marine, or kill the Space Marine. So, yeah, it seems like as if this is more or less called at this point. I mean, if he's got this many guns, then he will in fact have to... Eldar will in fact have to route the Wraith Guard for... after the Space Marines inflict 3 points of damage onto the Wraith Guard. But then in exchange, the Eldar have 6 guns against... Oh no, wait, hold on, did I count? No, it's 7 guns against 3 defense. So the Land Raider... So one of them has to give. One of them has to bite the dust for sure. And then on top of that, he's probably going to use... And I'm going to assume that he's going to neglect this, but... Well, either way, if they get routed, I just don't... Yeah, well... They're probably just arguing over technicalities at this point. This is... Yeah, I think that now that I think of it, I think one of the reasons why some people complain about the combat system in the game is that there's a lot of edge cases and technicalities that you got to pay attention to, because if you just forget to shift 1 die into offense, you could just end up not killing anything at all. So, yeah, it seems like as if it doesn't matter what happens. Either the Space Marine has to die, or the Land Raider must die. So, he has to pick his poison. There's not really much that Alex can do at this point. So, I mean, even if he unroutes Emperor's Champion, he still has 7 guns against 3 defense. So, there you go. Equals 4 damage. So, okay. So it seems like as if that's probably what he's planning on doing. He is, in fact, planning on just killing off his Space Marines, which I think this is actually a strategic victory. I think, strategically speaking, this is a very sound move. The other thing that he could do now is that he could probably just play Command of the Autarch, or he could get Wraithguard Advance, or even better yet, he could just get Fire Dragon's Vengeance and maybe try to find a way to just finish off the tank, but he probably doesn't. So he uses Blessed Power Armor, and then now he unroutes it. He'll probably just unroute it. Okay, so he gains 2 guns, and he gets 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So even if you use Emperor's Champion and he unroutes it... No, wait. Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, yeah, he basically has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guns. 9 guns versus 8 defense. So Raider is routed regardless of scheme. Yeah, so that's the thing, because start of assess, not end. Yeah, I know what he's talking about, but the thing is, like, if he's... But then, in any case, though, the Space Marines actually suffer 1 point of damage. There's basically 9 bolt guns versus 1 defense. So, either way, the Land Raider's dead. Either way, the Land Raider's just routed then. So... Yeah, that's right. That's right. That should be the right. That should be the right call. Okay, so all right. So there we have it. We finally have our first winner in the second bracket of the tournament. Your final winner is WAP. I gotta ask him how to pronounce his name or what I'm supposed to say. So Space Marines actually win against the Eldar, and it looks like as if and. Yeah, I guess that's about it. There's not really much else to really talk about it at this point. Eldar has captured their second objective, so okay, this is definitely panned out to be a much more interesting game than I had originally anticipated. You know, I guess even when you're behind, there are multiple ways to come back, right? So, all right, well, that'll be it. That will be it for the stream. I shall